Good afternoon. Good afternoon. PF Cutters, good afternoon to you. Nicola McNichols, greetings. Heather Lee, good afternoon to you. Rookman Gangadina, Rookman, Althea, Arlene Lewis, Celestine Allen, good afternoon. Christopher Coffey, good afternoon to you. Patricia Reed, Jennifer Nathan, Apollinas, good afternoon to you as well. Alison Rogers, Margaret Mota, Wazid, Michelle Nero, Neil Francois, always present. Diane Charles, hi Diane. Claire Carrington, hi Claire. Winston Jones, Alicia Isaac, Jacqueline Phillip, Claudia Jeffrey, Jeremy Lewis, Sarah Richards, Pamela Moses, good afternoon to all of you. Philomen Green, Jennifer Ashby Okuli, hi Jennifer. Andre Gaskin, Anaya, Helen Faria, good afternoon to all of you guys. Patty Kutu, Shirlyn Henry, Marva Frank, good afternoon. On this rainy Sunday afternoon, but we need rain with all the bushfires we've been having and the water shortage. We can only hope that at least one of those will be improved. Of course, the issue with the bushfires, the water, I don't know. It's incompetent government. I hold out no hope. And with a minister of public utilities like Padarat, even worse. Even worse. Yeah. But hope springs eternal, right? 4 more years, hopefully. Jerome Marshall, Horace Sharpness, Mikkel, greetings. Jenny Gay Cupid, the Nighthawk, Susan Cadogan, Olive Durant. So let's jump in on quickly today as well. I just have a little something to do later on this afternoon. So let me see how I can go through what I have to go through this afternoon. So a few things from last week, ongoing this week. So the UNC would have we would have had the opening of the second session of the 13th Parliament on Friday. It was a very short sitting. I don't see why we could not just come out on Wednesday instead. But of course, we understand the Prime Minister needed to come and make two statements, to waste Parliament's time to come and talk rubbish. And the usual thing, malign the PNM and tell you the PNM do this and the PNM do that. And it's because of the PNM and PNM. And I will say it again. For a party that is supposed to be dead, for a party that they said is divided, a party that gone through, is at its worst, UNC seems to be quite hot and bothered with the PNM. All the supporters, all the activists, all the mouthpieces on social media, really, PNM, 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 everything is PNM. To the point where even their own supporters are fed up of the constant PNM, PNM talk. Came across one recently. Where is it? Let me see if I find it here. So, no, 1 second. Let me see if I get it. Yeah, so that was Friday. For those of you who would have looked at the Parliament, there was nothing much to see. A waste of time in my view. But on Wednesday we have the Finance Bill, and then we have the Standing Finance Committee on Friday, where we will interrogate the allocations for the mid-year review. I've been looking at the document and I've seen some interesting figures there that we would want to ask some questions on. So stay tuned for that. Look out for that on Wednesday. Well, look at the Parliament on Wednesday and Friday. Let me see if I find this. Is it here, boy? All right, you know where I might find that? Give me 1 second, folks. Just now, let me find this here. Right. No. Where is it? Let me see if I get this. I thought I saved this thing. Anyway, so on Friday we would have seen that Senator General John Bates would have been replaced by Senator Margaret Rose, an attorney at law who specializes in procurement. And as you know, we have a lot of issues right now with this government and matters related to procurement. It seems like every week, every other day is something coming up where we have to express some concern. If it's not landmark PTE, it is heritage, or the laptops that they would have procured, the 18,000 laptops at a cost of 135 million, went from 80-something million to 135 million. And I would love to ask this government, the 2,000 laptops, you all said you needed 18,000 laptops, right, to satisfy the Form 1 students and so on. So the 2,000 laptops that you all got from India, who did you give that to? I'm just curious. Could have never taken to 20,000, right? And you didn't pay for that. So just asking. But never a dull moment with Sweet TNT. Just now, let me see if I just get this here. So the UNC would have gotten what they wanted. They harassed and harangued. Well, they got half of what they wanted. They wanted Janelle's head, and they got it. And so they're still clamoring now for Faris's head. And we know what they're going to come with to try and cause division. We expect that. They'll come to say, well, they get rid of the African but they kept the East Indian. They kept the 1%. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. So I would just want to remind the Folly Duns that while you all came on social media and for weeks you all prosecuted this case against Janelle and Faris, right? And all of a sudden you all were the vanguard of morality and integrity in politics, and they must go because they did this and they did that and it's dishonest and whatnot. I remind you that David Lee, who is on a $1 million bail for fraud, conspiracy, he's still in the parliament, right? He's a minister of government. I remind you of that. The Folly Duns who listening, you all have nothing to say about that. You have convenient morality and integrity, but you all have no moral authority to speak to the PNM on any matters of such, right? Rudal Munilal, who is the subject of a civil suit, right, alleging, again, bid rigging, fraud, conspiracy, among other things. He is still in the parliament as a senior government minister. And we would have heard just last week Wendell Eversley, who would have paid a visit, activist Wendell Eversley, who paid a visit to the DPP and would have posed a number of questions to the DPP with respect to ongoing investigations, which seem to police investigations, which for some reason cannot seem to come to an end. He would have sought an update on those, status update, and the DPP would have assured him that matters related to live sport, where you have another minister whose name, well, while his name may not, well, his name features prominently in the public domain as it pertains to live sport, as he was the line minister who presided over this ill-fated program. The DPP would have given Mr. Eversley assurances that the criminal investigation into that program is still ongoing, and we expect to see some conclusion by the end of 2026. And also to this matter with the EMBD, which appears to have stalled, right? That there is also a criminal investigation alongside the civil suit that seems to have stalled in the courts. There is an active criminal investigation into that, which means that Mr. Munilal, whose name features prominently in that matter, by definition, would be the subject of a police investigation based on what Mr. Eversley would have shared. And he would have done a live on that. He would have gone on national radio, I-95.5, where he did an interview with Darian Marcel. So he stated that, all right, that this is what the DPP said to him. And to the best of my knowledge, the DPP has not denied what Mr. Eversley has said. So we could take Mr. Eversley at his word that there is, in fact, a criminal investigation taking place into the EMBD matter, which would mean that Mr. Munilal, as well as one of their favored contractors who seems to be getting quite a bit of play under this administration. That name, Ramhit, just keeps coming up constantly, right? He too, that company or that individual would also be subject of police investigation, right? So we wait to see what is happening with that. But again, I express concern with respect to the status of that matter in the court, because as we know, prior to the PNM demitting office in April last year, that matter was moving apace, right? EMBD was providing the court with everything that was needed, and the holdup was on the part of the defendants, which includes Rudal Munilal and several well-known contractors who are known to be UNC financiers. And all of a sudden, since this government has come in, a new board has been put in place at EMBD, a board installed by this government. All of a sudden, that case has ground to a halt. EMBD trying all kind of thing to stall. We would have seen a couple months ago where the presiding judge, Justice Frank Sipasad, would have had to admonish the board and the executive of EMBD and caution them about wasting the court's time, and that he would not tolerate any shenanigans in an attempt to stall the matter, because it's been on his docket for too long and he is anxious to deal with this matter. All right. So we wait to see how that proceeds, but citizens should be concerned about that. That a matter that was moving quickly. You know, we always complain about the wheels of justice moving so slowly. In fact, the Member of Parliament for Barataria Sanwan, the Minister of Land and Legal Affairs, Saddam Hussein, in the Parliament a couple of weeks ago would have commented that the Minister of Justice, Devish Maharaj, would need to purchase several cans of WD-40 to get the wheels of justice turning, because it's rusty. And it seems they just throw a whole bucket of water on the wheels of justice in respect of this EMBD matter, where we're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars that may have been illegally passed on to, or would have been, well, let's just say, stolen from the public purse. All right? They throw a whole bucket of water and rusted the wheels of justice in respect of that matter. So, but there is no clamoring from the fully dones for an update on that. But if it had involved ministers of the previous administration, we would be hearing that constantly. And what upsets me is when I sit in the parliament, and well, fortunately, I was not in the chamber that day when there was a debate on this very same matter with involving Janelle John Bates and so on, and the debate into the report, and where they wanted to have her removed from the committees. To hear a man like Dr. Rudal Munilal stand up in the parliament and, being the usual class clown that he is, would talk nonsense about, that all the things that they say about the ministers of the PP government, and not one minister has been charged or anything and whatnot. And dude, you are the subject of a police investigation. You are the subject of a civil suit alleging hundreds of millions of dollars in being frittered away through bribery and bid rigging and conspiracy and so on. And you have the audacity to stand up in the parliament and talk about claims made against, and nobody was arrested and nobody was charged and so on. We had a former attorney general from the PP government who was charged twice in two separate matters. One is still before the court for witness tampering, where he stands accused of trying to bribe David West with the position of PCA director to get him to withdraw a witness statement in a lawsuit that this former attorney general, brought against Dr. Rowley, where Dr. Rowley would have made certain statements in regard to the conduct of said attorney general and members of the People's Partnership government in relation to the court matter involving Ishgal Baransing and Steve Ferguson and their extradition for their involvement in the corruption of the Piarco Airport scandal. And I would have told you all on numerous occasions, and those of you who used to follow me when I was on 91.9, I spoke about that in depth. At the time, the witness statement of Mr. West was available online. And when you read that witness statement, one could understand why that former attorney general would have been hot and bothered about it and would have wanted Mr. West to withdraw it, because it was very damning. Some of the statements made there by Mr. West and the claims that he made with respect to the conduct of officers of the government and the then office of the attorney general in seemingly sabotaging the efforts that were made up until that point in time by the competent authority to have Mr. Steve Ferguson and Ishgal Baransing extradited, you know, it pointed to what appears to have been a conspiracy. Unfortunately, I can't find it online anymore, so I don't know if it's because it is part of an active matter that that it is now no longer in the public domain. But one has to wonder, why isn't that former Attorney General seeking to have that lawsuit that he brought against Dr. Rowley expedited? Is he no longer interested in having Dr. Rowley pay for what he said? Or is it that, well, we're not really interested in pursuing the matter because that witness statement could expose a lot, and we don't want that. And since it was not withdrawn, we cannot run the risk of having the matter come up for hearing and then the witness statement is laid bare, or Mr. West is called to give testimony, and that testimony could be very damning, not just against the Attorney General, the former Attorney General, but the government of which he was a part. But the supporters would not speak about those things, right? Just saying. But he's trying to thwart his matter, all how, from coming to trial, right? Where they raised an objection with respect to the judge, Justice Gillian Luckey. They're challenging the validity of the warrants that were used to acquire the phone records, which would prove that that former Attorney General, Mr. Ram Logan, would have in fact contacted or made attempts, to contact David West. All right, as was testified by Mr. West and Gary Griffith. Right, and he's saying that Justice Luckey had some vendetta against him, and so the issuance of the warrant on her part, and questioning the integrity of her issuing the warrants and so on. But we will see. We don't know when that matter will come to court. But anyway, so I raised that matter against what Mr. Munilal would have said in the parliament, talking about PNM made all these claims against former ministers of the People's Partnership government, and not one person get locked up. And so this is a man who would have made all manner of allegations between 2015, September of 2015, and April of 2025. Those of you who would recall, in the wake of the AV drilling matter, the so-called fake oil matter, I recall Mr. Munilal sitting in a press conference where he claimed that the UNC was in possession of information in relation to this fake oil matter that could bring down 4 governments. He said that 4 governments. Where is that information? If you are making such a damning allegation that you are saying it's not just the government of Trinidad and Tobago, there were 3 other governments, whether regional or international, that were involved in some sort of conspiracy with respect to fake oil, and you all have the information. Did you take it to the police? Did you take it to any of the other authorities? Did you share it with the authorities in these other countries so they could launch their own investigation to see if members of their government were guilty of misbehavior in public office? So you get this information and you just put it in a manila folder and stick it in your drawer. This is the man who claimed he went to Miami to do investigation into the 500,000 US wire transfer into some bank account that Dr. Rowley allegedly had in Miami with some joint account, I think, with Nazim Bash of AV drilling and all kind of rubbish. He went to Miami playing Inspector Clouseau. Yeah, Angela Lansbury. Yeah, he's who was this lawyer? Oh gosh, what? Can't remember his name now. That's the big I think he's deceased now. Yeah. Can't remember his name, but yeah, all of them playing thing and all of that. Today he's the Minister of Energy. Just the irony of that, right? He is the Minister of Energy. So he has access to all the information with respect to AV drilling. Yes, thank you, Perry Mason. That's what I was trying to remember. Thank you, guys, Perry Mason. He has access to all the information. He is the line minister for Heritage, Paria, Guaracara, formerly Petrotrin. So any information he wants. After he was the UNC's lead investigator into that matter, one would think that he would use his good office to acquire all the information to support all the claims that they made that the PNM shut down Petrotrin to cover for AV drilling, to cover up for Dr. Rowley's best friend, Mr. Nazim Bash. But yet still here we are 13 months later, no mention, except now and again in the parliament, they might just make passing reference to that as a joke or something, but no seriousness. Here is your opportunity to nail the PNM to the wall. You all made these claims for years. Come now and show the public, look, we told you all this is what happened, and look the information here, look this piece of paper, look this document. Nothing. Not one document. But he want to stand up in the parliament and talk about the PNM made certain claim. At least the PNM could say arrests were made. Arrests were made. They don't control, the PNM doesn't control the judiciary and how matters unfold, right? By right, certain former ministers should be before the court, should be in jail, I would say. But the fact that you have so many former ministers of that government who are still the subject of police investigation. So as far as we know, if live sport is under active police investigation, as the DPP would have told Wendell Eversley, then of course we know that the former minister of sport would be a subject of that investigation, based on all the information that is in the public domain, right? Based on allegations that would have come out from the last report that the Express newspaper would have done into that matter. He and others, right? But not just him. We know that we have, since 2020, based on an interview that Mark Bassant would have done, where we saw him posing questions to the now Minister of Public Utilities, who had several questions to answer in respect of 2 checks totaling 135,000 that he deposited to the bank account of the now Prime Minister, and he can't remember what it was for, where he and his mother opened some company in 2011 or thereabouts and would have received allegedly some $17 million plus in contracts, where they would have received contracts under questionable circumstances, where they would have bid for certain contracts. There would have been established companies with years of experience who would have also bid on some of those contracts, whose bid would have come in lower, and yet still this individual and his mother's company would have won the bids. There were issues with respect to what his stated salary was and the monies that was coming into his account and all of these things. And we would have seen that there was supposed to be a police probe into him and his mother. Monies that alleged millions that were allegedly placed into his mother's bank account and her insurance policies and so on, and she refused to answer questions related to that matter. So, I mean, come on. But yet still, all you hound out Janelle, well, Janelle is gone, all right? So she has gone back to being citizen Janelle John Bates, and I wish her all the best. It was a pleasure working with her, albeit for that short time, and I would love to see at some time in the future she's given the opportunity to return to representative politics. All right, so I don't think you've seen the last of her. But I wish we could see the back of some of these crooks posing as ministers now in the government of Trinidad and Tobago in receipt of tens of thousands of dollars every month, most of them for doing absolutely nothing. All right, but yeah. So we would have seen as well the big story last week, Trinidad and Tobago gaining a seat, albeit temporarily, on the UN Security Council. And that was the feather in the UNC cap last week. Right? That was the big talking point for the government, big talking point for the Prime Minister, so much so that she felt the need to come to the Parliament and speak to that issue last Friday. And they're boasting that Trinidad and Tobago got the support of 181 countries, and that is stinging to our blood. Now, lest I be accused of, sour grapes, there's no sour grapes, because the fact of the matter is that notwithstanding the claim by the Prime Minister that the last PNM administration did absolutely nothing to advance the cause of Trinidad and Tobago bidding for that seat, nothing could be further from the truth. All right, but that is there. That is, we expect that she would say that, and wanting to take full credit to say that, well, she officially launched the campaign when she went to the UN in September of last year. And it was because of her advocacy and her efforts that we were able to secure that seat. Well, first of all, we were the only candidate. So it really was a non-starter. And I hardly think that you could just come mere months before a vote and say, well, we want it, and it's just so, and they get through. All right, there would have been lobbying taking place. And we will admit, as far back, I think, as 2013, lobbying would have started to take place. The PNM would have made its contribution towards that lobbying as well. And unfortunately, the UNC would have taken office last year. And so it happened under them. But what is the benefit, really, of this would be determined by what the government's agenda is and what they plan to do with this opportunity for the course of the period January 1, 2027 to December 31st, 2027, 2028, what they intend to do with it. So far, based on the utterances of the Prime Minister, they're looking too promising. No? They want to try and effect global change and global. This is the woman who said the Caribbean region is not a zone of peace. We are not any zone of peace. Well, one would think that's the first thing you should address. If you say the Caribbean region, contrary to what your colleagues from CARICOM are saying, you are saying, and only you, your government are saying, well, it's not a zone of peace here. Right? Then you should use that opportunity that you will be getting for the next 2 years to advocate for the Caribbean region to become a zone of peace and to see how the UN can contribute to that. So since you say it's not a zone of peace, identify what needs to change for it to become a zone of peace, and then send your delegates and your representative to the UN. And when they sit, whenever the council sits, so you can fix that. I mean, she's going to become the chairman of CARICOM during this 2-year term that they will be sitting on, that the country will be sitting on the UN Security Council. So even better, you will be speaking from the position, not just as a member, temporary member of the Security Council, but you will be speaking for all of CARICOM. Now remember, this position is representative of Latin America and the Caribbean region, right? So they boasted 181 countries supporting us. Well, first of all, you didn't have 181 countries supporting you. You had 180 countries supporting you because we voted, right? There were a total of 191 countries voting on that day who were sitting in the hall. 191 countries eligible to vote. All right? You got the support of 180 and you voted for yourself, which makes it 181. So you can't say 181 countries supported Trinidad and Tobago when Trinidad and Tobago is part of the 181. So you got support from 180, right? Self-praise is no praise. Because we didn't expect you to vote for anybody else or to not vote. So take yourself out of that. So you got the support of 180. But we have the men and women, the so-called men and women of letters, who want to tell you, first of all, want to chastise the media for highlighting or speaking to the issue that 10 countries did not vote for Trinidad and Tobago. And I reference an article by some outlet called PPSL News. And here's what it says. And some journalist called Rhonda Dowlat. She's a whole UNC. So anyway, veteran journalist and former television newscaster, veteran journalist slams CNC3 coverage of UN Security Council vote. Listen to this, right? Veteran journalist and former television news anchor Gideon Hanumansingh has criticized a CNC3 news report and commentary surrounding Trinidad and Tobago's election to the United Nations Security Council, describing the analysis as flawed and misleading. In a strongly worded statement posted on his social media on Wednesday night, Hanumansingh took issue with suggestions regarding how countries may have voted during the secret ballot process at the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday. He noted that because the election was conducted by secret ballot, there is no way to determine which countries voted for, against, or abstained from supporting Trinidad and Tobago's candidacy. A secret ballot at the UN this morning cannot determine if CARICOM member states or the president of Timbuktu voted or abstained, Hanumansingh said. He also criticized a political analyst featured in the report, arguing that speculation about voting patterns was unfounded given the nature of the ballot. The veteran journalist further contended that the focus should have remained on Trinidad and Tobago securing 181 votes in support of its bid, rather than concentrating on the 9 abstentions recorded during the election. 181 votes are significant, not the 9 abstentions. Let me repeat that. 181 votes are significant, not the 9 abstentions. He said. Hanumansingh also referenced CNC3 executive producer Kema Jordan in his remarks, suggesting that local media organizations should exercise greater responsibility in their reporting on matters of national importance. Trinidad and Tobago secured an overwhelming victory in the election, winning 181 votes, and they keep stressing this 181, from the United Nations General Assembly to claim a non-permanent seat on the UNSC for the 2027-28 term. The result marked the country's return to the Council for the first time since its 1985-86 tenure and was widely celebrated as a major diplomatic achievement. So again, even the information here is wrong because this is our third go-around on, as I understand it. We would have served for the period 2002-2003 under the Patrick Manning administration, right? So twice under the PNM and once now under the United National Congress. Now, to say that I am disappointed in the extreme in Mr. Hanumansingh would be an understatement. As a veteran journalist, as they call him, and you see, it is unfortunate that these guys who are supposed to know better are capitulating at the counter of expediency, right? All of them who are sitting on the sidelines hoping and that perhaps they might still get something, because there's still a lot to be had. We still have a number of ambassadorial positions yet to be filled. As I said, I think the only ambassadorial position we filled so far is the permanent representative to the United Nations, who was present at this vote, Mr. Neil Pasan, who under the People's Partnership government, I believe, was our ambassador to the United States. So there is that. But, you know, so people realize there's still a number of state boards for which, you know, the government is yet to find people. So some people holding out hope that they might still get a call up. They still have thing to get. So who could crow the loudest and who could be the greatest defender of the government and the Prime Minister step forward, and hopefully the Prime Minister would take note and bless you up, right? And you could still get something, notwithstanding the fact that 13 months has gone. 20% of their tenure has already gone, and still we have all these positions yet to be filled. But anyway, you know, they're taking their cue from up north, because up north, after more than a year in office, still has a number of ambassadorial positions also to fill. In fact, Trinidad and Tobago, well, we finally got our ambassador. Forgive me that I don't recall her name, but I understand that she is a Trinidadian native. She hails from Aruca, and she has been tapped by up north to serve as this country's ambassador for the remainder of Mr. Trump's tenure. All right, coming on the heels of Candace Bond, somebody I met a couple of times, and I must say, very, very pleasant individual, right? Quite competent. But listening to, having read that with Mr. Hanumansingh, and you're saying, focus on the 181, don't study the 9. Well, it's 10 we have to study, Mr. Hanumansingh, right? And I dare say that had the PNM been in office, and had we gotten 181, the very people who are saying, no, don't study that, focus on the 181, don't study the 10 or the 9, that's not important, right? They wouldn't have been saying that. There would have been deep analysis in respect of that matter, right? So when I read Hamid Ghani talking about, you know, that the fact that Trinidad and Tobago got 181 votes and Kamala Persaud-Bissessar is vindicated because people were saying that we would have lost support because of her support for up north and what was happening with the bombing of the boats and Venezuela and so on, and we would have lost support, and we overwhelming 181. So let us not study the 10. Well, for those of us who took the time to look at the vote, the entire voting process, the 52 minutes plus voting process, would have seen that there were 7 rounds of voting, right? To fill 5 vacancies, 5 non-permanent vacancies. The first 3 rounds filled 4 vacancies. The first one, Zimbabwe, was successful. They got 180 something votes. Then you had Then you had in the second round for the European bloc, you had the winners were Portugal and Austria. I think Germany just missed out. They got 104 votes and you needed to get a minimum of 127. I believe Germany, Austria, and Portugal, if memory serves me correctly, got 131 and 134 respectively. So those were the three. Trinidad and Tobago, 181 votes, filled the fourth position. And the last position, which was a little contentious and required 4 rounds of voting, because it was between Kyrgyzstan and the Philippines. And eventually, after the 4th round of voting, Kyrgyzstan emerged the winner. Right? Out of the 7 rounds of voting, for all those of us who took the time to watch, the only vote in which there were abstentions was the vote for Trinidad and Tobago. In the other 6 rounds of voting, there were no abstentions. There was 1 spoiled ballot in the first round of voting with respect to Zimbabwe, where for the African region, right? There was just 1 spoiled ballot. But 191 countries were eligible to vote. And again, I point out that out of 7 rounds of voting, the only vote in which there were multiple abstentions or any abstentions at all was in the vote for Trinidad and Tobago. 9 countries abstained and 1 country voted for Guyana. Guyana was not even on the ballot. But you were given the option that you could either tick the checkbox next to the candidate of your choice, and on that ballot, there would have been 1 candidate, Trinidad and Tobago, or lines were provided, based on what the moderator would have said, lines were provided where if you don't support the country that is on the ballot, you can write in the name of a country of your choice. So one country, the delegate for one country decided to write in Guyana, and 9 other countries decided, we're not voting. They're like, nah, fam, we go over here. We skipping this vote. Yeah, we just got to relax. We don't need that ballot. You could take that back. We good. We're not interested in this vote. The others, yes. So the fact that there were no abstentions in any of the other 6 rounds of voting tells you that the 9 countries that said, nah, we got over here. We're not interested in the Trinidad vote. Yeah, we sitting this one out. They voted in all the other rounds of voting. So it tells you that the decision not to support Trinidad and Tobago, it was deliberate, it was intentional, and it was motivated. What was the motive? Which countries sitting in that room had motive not to support or not to vote for Trinidad and Tobago, but they voted in all the other rounds? And the fact is, the delegates for these, well, I would say 10 countries, the 9 that didn't vote and the 1 that voted for Guyana, they didn't come there and to vote on their own volition. They didn't come and say, well, it's up to me as a delegate to decide who I support and who I don't support. No, because while what we need to take note of is that the delegate wasn't the prime minister or the president or whoever is the head of government in these countries. And it most likely would have been the minister of foreign affairs for that country, minister of external affairs, or perhaps the ambassador for that country who might be resident in New York or whatever, right? And they went there with a mandate that was given to them by the government, by the cabinet of their country, which cabinet would have sat down, deliberated, and said, well, look, we had to make a choice as to who we supporting, and we need to let our delegate know so they will know how to vote. And that, I would say to Mr. Hanuman Singh and Mr. Ghani and others, is why we cannot ignore the 9 or the 10, because the delegates didn't vote on their own based on how they felt. They voted based on instructions that they would have received from their government how to vote or not to vote. So 10 governments, the executive, the cabinet of 10 governments in separate countries sat down and said, we're not supporting Trinidad and Tobago. Convey that to the delegate and let them know that when the vote for Trinidad and Tobago comes up, do not vote. Do not support. Do not cast a ballot. Just close back the envelope and hand it back to them. That is the extent. And that is why we should be concerned. And I don't think that it was just coincidence that 10 governments just were on the same, all of them just decided that. It just happened, just coincidence that 10 of them just decided we're not supporting Trinidad and Tobago. Really? But Mr. Hanuman Singh would have us believe, well, it could have been, as for all we know, it was a secret ballot, and for all we know, it could have been the Timbuktu. President of Timbuktu decided not to vote for Trinidad. Really? But he decided to vote for all the other rounds of voting. But somehow, there was just something about Trinidad and Tobago that just didn't sit right with the president of Timbuktu and the 9 other countries in that moment. So you go there as a delegate. Your country spend money to send you there, and your sole purpose, because remember, it's 191 countries were eligible to vote for 5 positions, which means 186 countries or thereabouts knew that they went there for the sole purpose of casting a ballot, nothing else. They knew we are not on the ballot, so we're not expecting to walk out of that room as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. All right, we are here. We were sent here specifically to vote for the 6, 7, or 8, the 8 countries that have offered themselves and that are in line. That's what we're here for, right? So Barbados wasn't on the ballot, so the delegate for Barbados, no, well, I am not here to vote for Barbados, right? But I'm here to cast my ballot for whichever country, for the African region. I'm here to cast my ballot for whichever country, for the European region, for the Caribbean and Latin American region. I'm here to cast a ballot for that. And that's my sole purpose of being here, to vote. So obviously, if they come and they hand you a ballot, you're going to vote or not, based on the instructions given to you by your foreign minister, who sits in the cabinet of the country that you represent. So 10 countries decided, we ain't doing that. No, we good. And our government is telling, oh, no biggie. We're not concerned that 10 countries didn't vote for us. You're not concerned to try and figure out which were the 10 countries, because out of the 191 countries that were there, including yourself, minus yourself, so the 190, 10 of them said they're not voting for you. You're not concerned as to what the motive was. You're not concerned that they voted in all the other rounds, but just the one that when yours came up, they said, nah, we voted. We good. No support. And listening to what Mr. Hanuman Singh said, they really feel everybody dotish, everybody fully dunce. By process of elimination, we could figure out, we may not be able to figure out which of the 13 we have withheld their vote. But we could assume with a fair level of accuracy which region they came from. The fact that somebody wrote in Guyana, right, should tell you where they came from. And of the 190 countries that could have cast their ballot, let us look at the only region that had motive not to support. Because when you have a prime minister who could say, well, Caribbean is not a zone of peace, contradicting what your CARICOM colleagues say. They say, as a bloc, Caribbean is a zone of peace. And you say, the hell with that. I don't know what they're talking about. Then you're saying, well, CARICOM has shown itself to be an unreliable trading partner and we need to look elsewhere. And then you go to St. Kitts and Nevis for the people's, for the CARICOM heads of government meeting, and you buff up your CARICOM colleagues, call them out, tell them, hey, they see this thing where they're talking about zone of peace, I know nothing about that, right? You buff them up, put a good buffing on them, and then the next day you jump on a plane and come back to Trinidad, right? You ain't show up. You decide, I'm not going to all retreat now. For what? I'm above that. Keep all your stinking shoot. I don't want to shoot. Keep that. Then you create a whole bacchanal, having not gone to the retreat, when you had no good reason, because there was no pressing issue in Trinidad and Tobago for you to think. You came back to Trinidad, you went the next day, you went and you host your cabinet meeting as usual, and then you went home. You didn't even present yourself to speak at the post-cabinet press conference. And as has been pointed out, it's a whole year now since she last spoke at a press conference. They wanted to kill Rowley when he didn't show up at one conference to announce a state of emergency. Where's the prime minister? Where's the media? Where's the prime minister? Where's the prime minister? The prime minister. You didn't see this prime minister in a whole year speaking at a cabinet press conference, right? But the hypocrites, the fully dunce, wanted where Rowley? He missed one meeting. Wanted to rake him over the coals, but you haven't seen your prime minister in a year at a cabinet press briefing, and that's okay. We're talking nonsense about Rowley and PNM and Rowley and PNM. Again, your party, your government continues to embarrass you all. Right? Every time you all try to say, well, we could take the higher ground in this matter versus the PNM. Kamala says, hey, hold my beer. What is it? Hold my beer. No higher ground here. And so what is the UNC default response? HYMC. That's all they could do. Right? So it speaks to, and while these so-called men and women have letters, people like Indira Sajiwan, where is she? Did she comment on that? What was Sheila Rampasad? They always have plenty to say. Where is Shane Mohammed? Biggest defender, where is he? You weren't concerned about the 10 who voted for everybody else but didn't vote, that choose not to vote for Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? No in-depth analysis on that. You don't want to exercise your doctorate to give us some level of political analysis on what that means. No, focus on the 181. We're not concerned about the 10 and what their motive was, what their reason was for saying, we're not interested, we're not supporting Trinidad and Tobago. Right? But you all know why. And that is why you're not going to get into any in-depth analysis. Because it will highlight the fact that more than likely, those 10 the 9 abstentions and the 1 vote against came from CARICOM. I haven't seen, maybe I missed it. I didn't see a statement from CARICOM congratulating Trinidad and Tobago. I didn't see individual prime ministers congratulating Trinidad and Tobago, putting out congratulations to Trinidad and Tobago and being elected to the Security Council. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it. To me, that speaks volumes. It says they're not even willing to engage in hypocrisy. To pretend to say, well, it wasn't me. In case you're thinking it was us, it wasn't us. They ain't interested in that. Right? It's like they want to send a message and they want you to know. Then you come to St. Kitts and Nevis, want to tell us off. Right? Buff us up and feel what? We will just toe the line? No. When it is that you raise issues, you're not supporting Dr. Barnett beyond August. You accuse CARICOM of engaging in all kind of backroom dealings and so on. All kind of nefarious activity. You want answers and demanding answers. When it is they provided you with a platform and they said, okay, we will have a virtual meeting via Zoom. You didn't show up. You even send your Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs to speak on the issue. You have all these issues, you're demanding answers. They provide you with a platform to ask your questions directly and get answers. And then you didn't even have the courtesy to show up for that meeting. You didn't have to leave the comfort of your parliamentary office. In fact, when the meeting was going on, you wasn't even in the parliament chamber. Parliament was in session, but you were not in the chamber. You were what? You're outside meeting with I think, the president of Ghana or something like that. That's more important. Disrespect. And you expected them to support you. So it just goes to show where our standing is in the region. And if we had any doubts, while we can't say for sure, I think by the process of elimination, we could deduce the 9 abstentions and the 1 vote against, where they came from. Right? As far as we know, there's only 2 countries that perhaps supporting Trinidad and Tobago from CARICOM. Right? We would have seen, we know, Guyana, and then we would have seen where the Prime Minister of Jamaica would have seemingly had some about face with respect to the issue with Dr. Barnett and appeared to have been lending some level of support to Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar in respect to her position. And the rest of them, digging their heels. But no analysis whatsoever from anybody to say, well, okay, well, let's look at this. And the government said, we do okay. We got 180. Well, let's say in 181. You get 180. We focus on that. At the end of the day, mission achieved, mission accomplished. We get a seat and we could boast about that. But the majority of countries that voted for you, half of them or 3/4 of them probably never even heard of Trinidad and Tobago. I would ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who did we vote for? Kyrgyzstan or Philippines? You know anything about Kyrgyzstan? Assuming that that's who you vote for. You know anything about them? But you just went there and you had a vote. They gave you a ballot and okay. Did you vote for Zimbabwe? Right? The majority of countries who they probably, as I said, never hear about Trinidad and Tobago. Where you feel so just came, oh yes. And this thing about, well, the Prime Minister would have lobbied and would have spoken to several world leaders to lobby their support. Really? She pick up the phone and call 190 countries and say, we would like your support? I bet if you ask her to name the 190 countries or name the 180 other countries that voted, she could probably name 10. So we know she didn't pick up the phone and talk to the Prime Minister or the President of wherever to lobby. Okay? Because you were the only, Trinidad and Tobago was the only name on the ballot. So obviously you will get the majority of votes. You just needed 127. And if they had gotten 127, they would have been patting themselves on the back for that. And not be concerned about why you didn't get the support of everybody else. But that's your government for you. Right? The hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. But as we say, the shoe was on the other foot. Oh, they would have been talking about that for days. Whole panel discussion. The media would have interviewed everybody and the dog to get a comment. So why do you think Trinidad and Tobago didn't get full support? Why do you think 9 countries abstained and 1 voted against? Do you have any insights? Who do you think those 10 countries were? All those questions would have been asking. All kind of opinion would have been, we would have gotten editorials from the various newspapers. Several people would have been writing opinions to the newspaper. You know, the usual now. The usual suspects would have been writing opinions. The newspaper would have been flooded with opinions and letters. And why critical of the government and so on. But this government, yeah, we get 181. Let's just applaud that. Now, don't be surprised if they don't have some big celebration for that at your taxpayers' expense. Speaking of expense, there continues, of course, to be concerns with respect to procurement under this administration, right? And in their 2020 manifesto called National Economic Transformation Plan, let's see if I get this here. That's not. Let me get this here. I'd like to quote them correctly. That's no. I know I had saved it. All right. So 1 second. Right. So check against. Give me 1 second. Let me just find this here, folks. I want to reference the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan 2020, which was their manifesto on one thing in particular. Just now. Right. Just want to remind you all. So we saw an RFP come out a couple of days ago. And let me see if I get it here. Opposition. OPP. Right. See if I get it. Where is it? Right. Expressions of interest. Design, construction, operation, and maintenance of a multi-purpose indoor sporting facility. The Chaguaramas Development Authority, the statutory body mandated to develop and manage the Northwest Peninsula, is soliciting expressions of interest from highly qualified, multidisciplinary developers, investors, and facility management consortia. The objective of this EOI is to identify proponents interested in financing, designing, constructing, and operating a state-of-the-art multi-purpose indoor sporting facility within the Northwest Peninsula. The successful proponent will be granted a medium to long-term lease agreement wherein they will operate the facility on a commercial basis and remit a negotiated lease fee to the CDA. To bolster ecotourism, recreation, and commercial activity, the CDA conceptualizes the development of a multi-purpose wellness and performance center. To maximize usefulness and revenue and to preserve land space, the facility should be multi-use, which allows the same floor space to host various sporting activities and other client activities. Preliminary spatial assessments estimate the total land area required for the facility to be approximately 5,318 square meters, or approximately 60,000 square feet, or 1.5 acres. The requirements include main multipurpose sporting area, an estimated 1,050 square feet meter clear span space with high-performance synthetic flooring to host indoor futsal, basketball, netball, and volleyball. health and wellness amenities between 300 to 500 square meters dedicated to a modern gym facility focusing on functional fitness, cardio, free weights, and recovery. Commercial and amenity area. An estimated 300 square meters dedicated to nutrition and retail, including smoothie stations, a health cafe, locker rooms, and retail space. 4. Operational and parking areas, approximately 2,500 square meters dedicated to parking, targeting 80 to 100 spots, as the Chaguaramas area requires heavy vehicle dependence due to limited public transport. The successful proponent will assume full responsibility for the turnkey delivery and operational management of the facility. The EOI package will be available via email request to cda.procurement@chaguaramas.com from the 8th of June 2026, excluding weekends and public holidays, between the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Submission for this EOI is electronic submission. One consolidated PDF version must be emailed to the CDA no later than July 13, 2026. The email timestamp will serve as the official record of submission. Late submissions will not be accepted. I don't know about you, but I know what me. And what this sounds like to me. Somebody had a brilliant idea, right? For the last 5 years, 10 years, or maybe even before that. Because you may recall, 2010 to 2015, land was given away in Chaguaramas like that, right? They were sharing land like they're sharing jobs in Wassa now. Just so, come. You want what? Come. You want land? Prime real estate? Come through. You want 35 acres to build a water park? No problem. You want 4 acres to build a car park, and right now the Guava Road farmers and them, they have the crops there obstructing. Well, no problem. We'll lick it down. We'll build bulldoze, keep up the crops in a corner, tell them go so, and we fix you up. Right? You want 100 acres to plant onions for export, and then turn it into, and then use a few to build a restaurant and pave an area to lease out, rent out to people to store heavy equipment and so on, and pave an area for fact. No problem. You could get that. What? You want one of the mega farms? All right. You want to establish a petting zoo? Okay. How much? You want 100? No problem. Fix it up. Peppercorn rates, let's study it. Yeah, we developing the peninsula. Now, what I was trying to find, let me see if I get it here. All right. Just now. Let me get it here. That just no right that where is it, Peter? So I'm trying to find in the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan, which they offered as a manifesto in 2020, where they stated that a new UNC government, if they had won the election in 2020, would continue, and this was the exact words, would continue what they started in the Northwestern Peninsula with respect to the distribution of lands. Right? Here it is. A new UNC government, and this is page 78, will be committed to the following initiatives regarding infrastructure, and private investors would be invited to. Private investors, right? To bid. 1. Redesignate Chaguaramas as a special development zone. We will continue the work started while in office to engage Chaguaramas Development Authority and other stakeholders in transforming the 14,500 acre Chaguaramas Peninsula in Northwest Trinidad into one of the Caribbean region's most idyllic investment and entertainment destinations. Create a Southwest Peninsula, right? So this is what they stated, right? So they told you all, 2010 to 2015, we gave away land in Chaguaramas, prime real estate at peppercorn rates, right? So one man gets 35 acres to put up a water park, paying $30-something $100 a month rent and lease or whatever. Don't mind, the state valuator says he should be paying $500,000, but that's all right. Right? $3,800, because we're looking for business. Right? We give away 4 acres of land to build a car park, 1,000 car park, and then we will enter into arrangement, the CDA that is, will enter into arrangement with the owner of the car park to lease the car park from him, because we need parking, for $900,000 a month. $900,000. And he paying $1 a year for 30 years in lease, but CDA will pay him $900,000 a month for the car park. Whether they make that money or they don't make that money, they pay that. Okay? So they told you. So we see now this EOI that came out, They didn't waste no time. This UI come out. So somebody, perhaps from 2010 to 2015 had ideas. Or perhaps from 2015 to 2025 had ideas, but say nah boy. Can't get through the PNM now. You see what the PNM doing? All the leases that the UNC gave out 2010 to 2015, the PNM took all of them to court. Challenged the legality. Right? They took back land from some people. The 4 acres, they took it back. The man who get the 100 acres, they take back 50 acres from him. And they use that to create this shade house project for young people between the ages of 18 and 35 who are interested in agriculture and want to set up business. So Rowley come in now and take back 50 from the man who get the 100 acres to plant onions. Never mind, I don't think any onion plant, but anyway, 100 acres. Rowley take back 50 and say, we're giving that to the young people. Right, come. We will build these facilities and so on, and you will come, we teach you agriculture. Right. Rowley did that. Now, of course, we know these things shut down now. So somebody came up with this idea. They want to build this thing. I said, well, all right, no problem. We go organize that. CDA, make it happen. Put out the EOI. We're coming up with a program called the National Revitalization Program. We're building all kind of things. We're going to turn Trinidad and Tobago into Singapore, into Dubai, into Oman. Yeah? All kind of things we're going to build. How much land you need for that? All right, no problem. Do we want to build? All right, no problem. You don't worry yourself now, you're inside. We make it happen. So we know we have all of these state enterprises. Several of them still don't have boards, but we put in a board on the CDA. Oh yes, we've given priority to CDA because things had happened down there. So make sure CDA fixed. They get their board a long time, early, and they get their mandate. Land had to give out, land had to share. So CDA board inside. Good. Now, cool off period. Somebody come with a brilliant idea. I want to build something on there because you see what building here? You see the people who living down on that side, this is the kind of thing they like. Right? They will frequent that. So we need something for them. Because they pay in big money. Indoor thing. They want to play, you always say futsal and who want to play pickleball and all them kind of thing. Yeah, that's the new thing. That's the ideal place to put that. All you have the land down there. Yeah. We catering for Westmoreland, we catering for Goodwood Park, we catering for Caranage and these areas. Diego Martin, Big Shot areas and stuff. Don't worry, them coming on. All these, you see all these facilities all over the place where they're doing CrossFit and stuff now. And when you look inside there, who are the people you see inside there? So if we put that down in Chaguaramas, we get through. Don't worry, fixing that for you. So we send out the UI, but we don't know who's going to get through already. You save. But for the sake of procurement and making it look legit, we had to do that. Don't worry, you done inside. And so it begins. They told you in 2020, they will continue 14,500 acres to be dealt with. They didn't finish it. All those of you who walk from Chaguaramas to the waterfront in 2014, 2015, right? To protest state land, prime real estate being given away by the People's Partnership. All of you who protest in the hot sun, sweating, who lose 5, 6, 10 pounds, walking from Chaguaramas to the waterfront where the parliament was at the time. All you did, that was just exercise. Right? Then you get a 10-year respite. Okay? Yeah, 10 years. But they're back in office now, and we at it again. You all going to work again? Just asking the question. So, I told you all, this National Revitalization Program is just the biggest land grab. And this UNC knows that history is not on their side. That usually, when any other government other than the PNM in power, the chances of them serving more than one term is very slim. The odds are not in their favor. So you know what? This time around, we know if it's one thing they did, they studied 2010 to 2015 and they know where they made the mistakes and what they need to fix. So all who were supposed to benefit and tell them, well, they need to do it differently this time. Don't forget, 2010 to 2015, they gave away the Chaguaramas Convention Center. Again, remember the name? The same name that's popping up now, right? Chaguaramas Convention Center that they gave away, leased it out for how much millions? To certain people, certain financiers. The PNM came back in power, they say, that ain't happening. Take it back. And under the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, up until the time that the PNM left office, the Chaguaramas convention center was being converted into a youth apprenticeship center, right? Where the young people, again, young people who they say the PNM are doing nothing for the youth. All they want to offer the youth is weed. They were creating that. The renovations, the sign, actually the name, the signage was already up on the building, the Youth Apprenticeship Center, where several programs would have been offered to the young people. Right? PNM was not just simply content to have all of these fuse and hoist and lift and all of these things. Come down there, we have it there. UNC, same UNC who complained. Well, the PNM shut down the TTHTI, they shut down the hotel school 13 months later. But if they talk about that in the election campaign, we will reopen the hotel school. It open yet? When last I heard them talk about that? Because so the PNM for that. PNM, never mind the fact that that was a private facility that was getting state subvention, and there were certain issues that needed to be sorted out with respect to that. What is the status of the Youth Apprenticeship Center, formerly the Chaguaramas Convention Center? We're going on with that. Because it was under active renovation up to the time the PNM left, when we still had a Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. That's where the priority was. They say, again, the PNM need to take licks, because all these things was happening and we weren't telling the population. So unless you went down to Chaguaramas and saw that, you would not have known that that was taking place. All these things that was happening, didn't know. Right? Take a drive and you would see. Anything happening down there? Take a drive, go down to Tucker Valley and see what was the mega farm. Go and see the Shade House project. Take a drive inside there and see the work that the PNM was doing for the benefit of the young people. Say, doing nothing for the African youth. But it wasn't only African youth was there, but you had a lot of them who were attracted because the PNM made agriculture sexy again through these programs. What's happening with it now? Nothing for the youth, nothing for the youth. What do UNC offering the youth? Come and play some football and we'll get somebody to sponsor 100,000 as the prize money. And what happening after that? You see, all right, come with this nonsense again. Anyway, so as I was saying, right? As I was saying, so we see the land grab continues. It started before 2010 to 2015, and now they're continuing it, and they're coming up with creative ways. Because no mention was made of this during the election campaign. I don't recall. I didn't read their manifesto, whatever they was calling it in detail. Right? So I didn't hear Mrs. Prasad Bissesso or anybody mention this. But all of a sudden, these ideas coming out of nowhere. Right? And we're just supposed to take it at face value. Yes, the government doing things, but everything that they're doing. Let me remind all you again. Mind you all. Just now. Let me remind you, for those of you, people like Winston Bachelor who memory short, and they sent him here to come and try to throw me off. Let me remind you all. So again, right? Right. Just right. Where is it? Let's give me 1 second to find it. All right, they said they were going to scrap the revenue. Okay. Yes, I think this is it here. Let me remind you all of this. Restructuring of state enterprises. There are currently over 100 state agencies and statutory authorities and their subsidiaries operate across the economy on behalf of the government. This is massive state involvement. The state enterprise sector is supposed to contribute to the economy through foreign exchange earnings, employment, dividend payments, and taxes. Instead, many state enterprises have accumulated significant losses, imposing a substantial fiscal drain on the treasury and a drain on the taxpayer. We have seen where state agencies have been mismanaged, aided and abetted by the government, where multi-billion-dollar claims have been withdrawn against friends of the PNM, blah, blah, blah. Right. Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to on behalf of the people, which state enterprises would serve the country better if they were out of government hands, which would do better as public-private partnerships. So since 2020, they hatching this plan, right? Which will assist with research and policy direction for government in terms of climate change, blah, blah, blah. They go on to say, we will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. These functions should be better carried out by the business sector. These functions should be better carried out by the business sector. We will tender the management of publicly owned state enterprises to private companies in an open tender bidding with clear pre-qualification and evaluation criteria. We will step away from government interference in these state enterprises and negotiate performance contracts with successful private companies to ensure that these entities are run efficiently while government receives payment through taxes and dividends from profits generated. Alambi? We must engender a business development approach with strategic financial objectives. Failure to meet these objectives must have review and repercussions. Decision makers must be held accountable for their actions or inactions. The bottom line is these companies must be profitable. The good old days are done. The good old days are done. So they told you in 2020, this is what they're going to do. Put in things, public-private partnership is the way to where everything is public-private partnership, and we will decide which entities, state controlled by the state now, should better be put in private hands. So since 2020, they were hatching this plan. If they won in 2020, which they didn't, thank God, what we're seeing now would have happened since then. But they got a 5-year delay, and now they're back in office. And boy, oh boy, they ain't wasting no time executing on that. So all their friends who had an extra 5 years to sit down and come up with all these grand plans and what they want to build and where they want to build it and where they want to get land, they say, well, here we will finance your campaign, millions upon millions of dollars, but understand when all they get in office, these things need to be repaid somehow. So let's wait to see this EOI. So I told you all, today's what, the 6th? What's the date today? 7th? Yeah? Let's see how that is going to develop. If this is not going to turn into another landmark TT in a couple months. All right? So they say they put out the EOI. Let's see what happens next. And if our name that we've become re-familiar with, a name that we didn't hear for 10 years, except in mention with respect to corruption, all right? Lawsuit and stuff. That was the only time we heard certain names in the last 10 years. And now, in the space of the last 13 months, we're hearing those names repeated, not in respect of corruption, not in respect to civil suits and police investigation. No, we're hearing these names in terms of billion-dollar contracts. Billion-dollar contracts. And it seems like that one contractor or two contractors, only they could do everything. They have endless money, right? 1 billion by so for HGC and 100 and something million by so for Alambi and how much million by so for this and that. As I told you all last week, there is a housing development that was started by the PNM in my constituency, just behind PriceSmart, right? And I was informed that that particular contractor might also be doing that project as well. Where that contractor getting all that money from? Where he getting all that money? His bank account is a bottomless pit. So he have billions of dollars. He ain't getting no work from the state for the last 10 years and you still have billions of dollars that you could fund $1 billion by so and how much at a time when the liquidity in the banking system is really tight. Where that money coming from? Okay. All right. Going again. Expressions of interest. CDA again. Food truck vending, trailer concession, and food yard development. So you see, you also what's all over the country now, this new food yard thing, right? So it started with 139 Chagrin Road, where they had the indoor kind of thing, food court there, Chinese laundry, where I think Mr. Chow was before. And then you see one open on Arapita Avenue next to where GMMB Bank is now. And then all of a sudden, all over the country, you're seeing this model popping up. They have the newest one, I think, in Maraval. Can't remember the name of it. Philip Alexander. I think that's where he was going the day when he parked in the handicap spot by Superfarm to go across, I think. Was complaining. Bag Shot, I think, is the name of it, right? And so he was, a couple of days ago, he was promoting some sushi place there, right? So we see this particular model of food court developing. Apparently, they decide, the CDA decide, well, we want one too. We want one. So they put out a EOI. They're just shelling out EOIs now, man. As a statutory body charged with the development of the Northwest Peninsula, the Chaguaramas Development Authority invites experienced culinary entrepreneurs, facility managers, and food service operators. The initiative aims to transform key coastal locations into vibrant, high-quality food yard experiences that reflect the unique cultural and environmental heritage of Chaguaramas. Now, mind you, down in, those of you who know down Carenage, you have the fish fry, right, which was established by the PNM for, the people in the area. So stay tuned for, these women who have a little culinary skills. They could come and do the thing, fry the fish and whatnot and sell. But as far as I know, we still have a few stalls down there that are unoccupied. I think NIDCO is responsible for that, or Eureka, one of them. Right? What's happening with that? You're not seeking to fill those, but you want to create this new thing. The CDA is seeking to optimize the existing assets, which include a fleet of vending trailers, while also providing a structured opportunity for private investment in local micro-entrepreneurship, targeting owners of food trucks, vending trailers who seek a strategic location for generating revenue. As the Northwest Peninsula is a popular area for recreation, ecotourism, commercial and industrial activity, the high levels of foot traffic provide ample opportunity for investors who are interested in providing culinary tourism experience for consumers. The OI covers 5 distinct locations with the following characteristics: zoning, resort, residential land use; topography, flat and well-drained; accessibility, easily accessible off-main road networks; utilities, essential service infrastructure exists. The tenant licensee will be granted a license to either an existing vending trailer or an available spot in the targeted area, inclusive of space to situate the vending infrastructure and for patron queuing. Yeah, another one. Look out for more. Because when it's carnival and so on, and have fets down there, people looking for food and all kind of thing. We saw the bacchanal that took place the other day when they had because of the government's wise decision to ban the use of certain sporting facilities for hosting fets. Right? So they couldn't have Stink and Dirty down in Brian Lara car park. So they had it down there. We saw the bacchanal and confusion. People almost drowned. People trying to see if they could catch a boat to avoid the traffic and fight up on the boat, and people almost fall off, all kind of thing. Right? So they see the potential down on that side. So as more and more of the financiers open their eyes and see, well, hey, but look, so and so getting land and this one are opening what? More ideas. And they start early this time. Last time the mistake they made, they waited until a year and a half or 2 before they limited office. This time they start early. So they have a full 4 years. So by the time 2030 comes around, right, everybody don't get what they had to get done on that side. So even if the PNM come this time and say they want to challenge, your business already established, what they're going to do? Break it down? No. How you could do that? You can't do that. So they have no choice but to work with you. It's already there. So you good to go. As your government working for you. Who's you? Seeking to create the new 1%. Probably say the Syrian Lebanese community hold that 1% title for too long. It's time for us to create a new 1%. I see the existing 1% really gain anything. Not surprised in the least. But hey, let's see if I find this thing here. Right, where is it? Don't say you were not warned. We told you so. Anybody knows what the moderators are confused because the news last night told me is 162. But Ian Allen told me is 164. But I know he left out at least one. The UNC man who was killed in Mondo, right? I say he's a UNC man because the photograph that has been put up by the media is of the man wearing a UNC jersey, right? And he was killed while sitting in his Tida somewhere in Mondo. So that'll take it to 165. And then there was a young lady, a 12-year-old, I think, who went missing yesterday or so. And her body was found in the forest, right? Her grandfather she was by the grandfather. Based on what is being reported, he put her in a vehicle so that she could go home to her home in Erin. She never made it home. And unfortunately, her lifeless corpse was found, I think, yesterday or this morning in the forest, right? One more. I don't know the exact figure, right? I heard the news say for the same period last year it was 168. So we more or less on the cusp of where we were. So ain't no boasting about, 42% down and how much percent down. And then the base year is no longer 2024, right? The base year is 2025, of which UNC was in office for 8 months out of 12. And they were boasting 42%, murder down 42%, 360 something murders last year. And apparently the criminal elements will be behind quota this year, so we need to hasten the pace. So now it's no longer one here, 2 days later, one there. What they're doing now is multiple. So when you hear murder reported, it's 3 dead by so, 2 dead by so, 5 dead by so, shoot up a car and Lady Young, 4 dead by so. Yeah. They're doing it in multiples. They're no longer 1. That ain't working. Yeah? Under a state of emergency. We're in the 6th month of the year. And you've been under a state of emergency for the first 5 months, 4 out of 5 months. And they tell you Zoso will fix the problem. State of emergency have more powers than Zoso. But you can't fix it. Murders continue. Mostly when PNM in power, murder goes up. Really? Well, PNM not in power. Apparently, the criminal element didn't get a memo. You all need to send it out again. Send out the email. PNM hasn't been in office for over a year. So I could take it down. Is UNC in power? They're making the UNC look bad. You're affecting the ability to say it's only when PNM in power, crime goes up. Take it down. Send out the memo again now. Some people ain't get it. Right? We're talking about the PNM. Idiots who supporting this party talking rubbish about the PNM paying people to commit crime so the UNC will look bad. Really? Really? I can tell you, the PNM don't have that money. Definitely don't have that money to waste. Right? Okay, if we had that money to waste, the Balize House Companion building would have been complete. Same building, they tell you 200 million, 300 million. Well, as you see, construction has ceased on it. All right? Okay. Don't worry. Anyway, let's see if I get this here. I'm suddenly talking about that again. Anybody know what the Auditor General is? Remember, Imbut thief 2.6 billion? And the Privy Council say you're supposed to, they should have investigated Imbut. We're not prosecuting that case anymore. Remember the Auditor General, Jayanti, or that's it, Jaiwanti? Yeah, remember she said the then central bank governor prevented her from being able to access the electronic check clearing system so that she could do an audit to determine whether or not, in fact, that was the cause of the 2.6 billion understatement. The error that Mr. Imbut spoke about, or whether Imbut thief 2.6 billion. Well, we know that Mr. Hilaire was fired months ago. So is it that the new central bank governor, well, he's not new anymore, he's been there for at least 9 months, is it that he's still preventing her from coming to audit the system to determine? Because, I mean, hey, it's been a while. How long does it take? I mean, the Auditor General's department could audit the whole of the public service, all government enterprises and ministries in the space of 1 year. You could do all of that, right? Go to all the ministries. In fact, they're supposed to be coming to audit my constituency office soon enough, but we good. Everything in a gear, right? So when they come, we were already audited by the government auditors, and they said out of the 41 constituencies that they've audited, kudos to Malabar Mausika. We right up there. In fact, we could teach the rest of them how to do it. And we knew, right? My office staff is new, I am new. But we doing what we're supposed to do. Okay? This is what was told to us. So we good. But the Auditor General's Department in 1 year, 12 months, could audit all ministries, among other things, and state enterprises. But here we are, 13 months in, and you have not yet been able to audit this electronic check clearing system to determine if Mr. Imbut lied and if he really thieved 2.6 billion, or if, as he said, that was the reason for the 2.6 billion understatement. 13 months, you can't do that yet. But yet still you're going to produce a report. You already produced a report into the operations of the government for 1 year, for 12 months. So how long you need to get to the central bank? Madam Auditor General, how long you need? I saw the president swore in, or a gentleman, I think it was last week or week before, because as I understand, the substantive Auditor General is on leave. I just ask any question. If you could audit the whole public service, all government ministries and so on in a year, what's the hold up with central bank? Have you gone yet? What's the hold up? I just asking for the benefit of those of us who want to know if Imbut really thief 2.6 billion and where he put it. So let me get this here.
Trinidad and Tobago, good morning, good morning. Thank God for life.
Mr. UNC supporter by
this morning. Well, Trinidadians and my fellow Trinbagonians, you know where's the order? You have the rights to remain silent. That is the only right you have in this country. You have the rights to remain silent. Let the people who you put in office, let them walk over you. Let it take your whole life savings. Let them fill their pockets, their friends' pockets, and the financiers' pockets. This is what we're doing right now in this country, you know. Poor people getting nothing. Like I say, on a few occasions, Diwali, Idul Fitr, and so forth, you may get a food card. You may get a food card for 500. And when you're going to grocery and you pick up $500 out, it's because the card invalid. Well done. Well done, Ms. Vandana. Well done. You know, next thing and all, they're prosecuting the wrong set of people in this country, which is the poor, law-abiding, hard-working citizens of this country. People, I have been making posts for a number of years now, and I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago something. You know, it had a saying that PNM supporters don't care if they have to eat bamboo grass, but they're not voting nobody else other than PNM. Well, let me tell you something. It has some people catching their ass outside there. They're wearing bus panty and bus jockey shorts. Their clothes smelling. They have money to buy soap to wash it. Their clothes have mildew. The house falling down. You understand? They ain't changing the yellow at all. Tribal politics, they call it. And unless the poor people of this country don't get up, open their eyes, and smell the breeze, well, boy, crap out smoke all your pipe, you know? Crap out smoke all your pipe. Because here it is. I voted for change. Everybody voted for change. But we didn't get change. We got exchange. Everything is blame, 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 blame. Blame the PNM, blame the PNM, blame the PNM. The rainfall too hard,
Blame
we get flooding, blame the PNM. Crime escalating, blame the PNM. We have a food shortage in the country, blame the PNM. Oil price gone down, blame the PNM. You understand? Like I say, it have a fella that's come every morning on social media. Kill he dead, he's the hottest thing around. Yes, you may have the biggest mouth. You may have the longest head. You understand? But partner, if it wasn't for those 3 letters, PNM, you have nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. You understand? Let me talk about the Juve morning when you was stone drunk and peeing on the side of the road in full view of the public. Where you go say that is the pass? That was a mistake. That is when you don't care about your country, partner. That is when you don't care about your country. So stop blaming people. Blame yourself. Blame yourself, because you just like me, we voted for the same party, I would think. And we were hoping betterment. But it's because of the PNM, the present administration, working for a salary that they never thought they would have been working for. Why the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance don't go to the Parliament that morning and cut the salary by half? Cut the pension by half. Remove all perks that they have. Why do they come and do that? And uplift this country and help the poor people of this country so that everybody will live in betterment. Well, they go do that. Blame the PNM. And not because I'm wearing a red t-shirt this morning to go to work. You go judge me as a PNM partner. Red is Hanumanji, Durga Ma. That is my Friday prayer. Every Friday when I do my offering, when I do my job, red is my color. Red is my color. Right? So not because I'm wearing a red t-shirt means I'm a PNM. You understand? I have a party card, you know. Do you have one? Mr. Longmouth? Mr. Big Mouth? Do you have a UNC party card? You must see how that. You understand? You have that. All you doing, you just sitting down in an office, putting on a jacket and tie and collecting money. And going in the parliament ever so often and brain. That is not talking about, that is what they call brain. You know, the old people have a saying when they get vexed, brain donkey brain. Anyhow, that's enough for me and you for this.
As a UNC supporter, right? Says he has a UNC party card, he voted for the UNC, he voted for change. 1 year in, yeah, he said it, not PNM said it. Blame the PNM, blame the PNM. Rainfall too hard, blame the PNM. Oil price going down, blame the PNM. Everything. During the election campaign, what Prasad Bisasa said? She said, come with a book. She said, look, I have the PNM playbook here. I'm going to read it for you. Number 1, blame Kamla. Number 2, blame the UNC. Number 3, blame Kamla some more. Number 4, blame the UNC, blame the UNC, blame the UNC. 13 months and all they hear, PNM, 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 PNM. Everything is all they're talking more now about the PNM than when the PNM was in office. For a party that's supposed to be dead, only has 13 members in the lower house, right? A small maxi of representatives have always so hot and bothered. Everything, we have no power, we can't do nothing. You're starving us for resources every time we write to you all for something. Is either you're ignoring it or you tell us you send the letter to the relevant department and so will contact and nobody contacted. You're trying to follow up, no help, no assistance, nothing. Right? They say they fixed 30,000 leaks. In which constituencies? They boasted they fixed over 28,000 street lights. In which constituencies? Because I have a lot of street lights in my constituency that need to fix, that I have been begging TNTech for months now to fix, and it ain't fixed. But all they're boasting. But they come in now, next week, but this week, to ask for $2.93 billion more. 2.93 billion, basically $3 billion more. They come in to ask for. Kamla say, well, it is to pay, salaries and so on. The 10% at the pay salaries, among other things. But I have been going through the document that they sent us, and one of the things I see they're asking for is $18+ million for CPEP. And I wonder why, because CPEP, as we know, was shut down. Last time they came during the budget debate, allocated $7 million. They told us that was what was needed to wind up CPEP. I asked the minister, I said, what is $7 million for? He said, well, we are winding up CPEP and there are certain liabilities outstanding and we need the $7 million to pay that. But you come now, this year's media review, last year's media review, only come out for $60 million for CPEP. We gave it earlier. Well, not we. The parliament approved that. Next thing, a month later, we hear only shut down CPEP. Where that money went? You come back this year, so you allocate $7 million in October to wind up CPEP, and now you come in June of this year to ask for $18 million for a program that has been shut down for almost 1 year. So I wait with bated breath to find out the explanation for that $18 million. But if there's one thing you could say about this government, they're deceitful too bad. Very deceitful. So again, I'm looking at the
tribal politics.
Looking at the finance bill that is coming to the House on Wednesday. Let me show you all how deceitful these people are. They make a big song and dance about private, pensions. If you have an annuity, deferred pension, and so on, they say, here what? No tax. You pay no taxes on the pension, right? Not public servants' pension, right? Private. So if you have an annuity with an insurance company, you bought an annuity with one of the banks or whatever it is, well, still have to come to the insurance company at the end of the day, and they pay your pension every month until you die. Whether your money, even if you outlive your money, they continue to pay you until you die, right? So if you live long, it benefits you. And they come and they tell you what? Effective the 1st of January 2026, these pensions will be non-taxable. So you're getting whatever is your monthly pension, if you're getting it from a private fund or you're getting it from an insurance company, no tax. And they big up that. Yes, great. Promise made, promise kept, promise delivered. But what currently obtains is that you are allowed to contribute up to or claim for up to $60,000 a year in contributions to a deferred annuity. $5,000 a month or up to $60,000 for the year. In the finance bill that they come up with Wednesday, that $60,000 has now been reduced to $20,000. Right? So they give it in one hand and take it back in the next. So if you contributing more than $1,500 or $2,000, or you decide your salary allows you to claim for the max, the $60,000, which would give you, if you contribute $5,000 a month or $60,000 for the year in a deferred annuity, you are entitled to a tax refund of $15,000, 25%, because you were not supposed to pay taxes on that money. So you get a $15,000 tax refund. They come in on Wednesday now with this finance bill, and they've reduced it to the lower of 20% of your salary or $20,000. So everybody who contributed more than $1,500, because that $20,000 also includes 70% of your NIS contributions, among other things, right? Because if you go through your TD1, you will see from item number 4, there's about 4 or 5 items under section 4 that is cumulative in that 60,000 now. They've now proposed to reduce that to 20,000. So people who put in money, who might say, well, all right, if I get my back pay, I have an annuity, I'm paying $500 a month, or I'm paying $1,000 a month, because I want to make sure that when I retire, I have a decent income, right? In case the government tell me I don't qualify for the old age pension at 65. And now with the changes in NIS, where they're telling me that at age 60, I could no longer get a pension at $3,000, it would be reduced to $2,500. But if I want to get $3,000, I have to wait until age 65. So that whole 5-year period is either take it or leave it. So that's a whole $500 short if I decide I want it at 60. So I have to make sure that I have something else to top up to get back that $500 that I would be losing if I take the pension at 60. So somebody might say, well, I get my back pay. Let me put a lump sum. Just drop in a lump sum and I could claim back for that. Well, not if you're a public servant. You're getting 60-40 and you don't get the 40 already, you spend that. So you have nothing else to get back pay. It's non-cash. Hard luck for you. You work in the private sector, you get a bonus, profit sharing, you get some money coming to your hand somewhere and they say, you know what, instead of spending this money, let me take it and drop it in my annuity to boost it up a little bit. Now they're telling you that is capped at $20,000 for the year. Right? So even if you put more than that, hard luck for you, you can't claim for it. The PNM increased it from 25,000 to 60,000. Right? They coming out to decrease it by 66 2/3%. So a man who says, well, all right, I could pay $5,000 a month, 60,000 for the year. Instead of putting that 5,000 a month in the bank, we're getting an interest rate of 0.5%, 1/4% if I'm lucky. If I put this 5,000 a month into this pension plan, or I put a lump sum, I get a piece of money, I could get $15,000 back on my taxes. Right? So you're basically making 25% on your 60,000 for the year. Some people will come and say, well, I get back my tax return of 15,000, I'm going to drop it in there too. Because I do plan to wait until I reach 65 to retire. If I could do it at 55, better. If I could do it at 60, if I could do it at 50, great. Let me see how much as I could dump inside there so I could retire early. This wicked government, come and see it. That's what they're coming with now. And making it seem as if this is something great. I wonder if the Minister of Finance even knows what the limit is. No. I wonder. So they tell you you're saving on the back end. You pay no taxes on your pension. But look at the folly in that. To be able to save, your pension you must be earning $7,500 or more. Well, more than $7,500 in a pension, on your income, your retirement income. How many people in this country earning over $7,500 in there? We're talking public, right? How many people get in that? To be able to get a private pension at $7,500, at your chosen retirement age, you need to have at least $1.25 to $1.3 million in your fund to be able to get a pension of $7,500 a month. So how many people benefit? More people benefit on the front end through your tax return. When it is that you pay, and whatever is your contributions, you're allowed to claim up to 25% of your contributions as a tax refund. And you're getting it now. They tell you, wait, you ain't pay no tax, don't mind you, you're young now, and you probably have another 20 years before you retire. And so you're taking advantage now of the tax benefits based on your contributions. So no, we're going to cut back that. But don't worry, 20 years down the road when you retire, you will benefit, you wouldn't pay any taxes on your pension. Let's just hope that your pension is taxable, the amount. But who knows, 20 years from now, the government that would replace this wretched government might decide they want to increase personal allowance from 90,000 to 100,000 or 120. So even better. So the figure goes up. So they tell you, well, you again benefit from the back end. Promise made, promise kept, promise delivered. But hey, we ain't telling you, we're going to reduce the amount you could claim for upfront. And if there's anything we learned from the last finance bill that they brought in December, where they increased traffic fines by 100% and 150%, we're scrutinizing this one with a magnifying glass. And it has plenty of things inside it that you all should be concerned about, right? This fine that they have increased, they say for coconut products, coconut oil, some of you who might be, you're entrepreneurial and you're making soap, using coconut oil, you're making soap and whatever else and them thing. Yeah. But they say coconut products. So we want to know, does this include other edible items? So if you're making a little sugar cake, is that included? We want to know. We're asking questions because they're kind of a little vague now. So all of these things we are going to have to ask them come this week. Right? But the PNM was wicked. PNM oppressive. Tax. Every opportunity they get to bring a finance bill, they increase in something. They find we increase enough. We last you all for the budget. We last you all for the last finance bill. We're coming back again. More increases again. Bars shutting down all over the place because the bar license gone from $1,500 to $9,000. And the sycophantic supporters telling you, well, But they're making that money. Really? Every bar making money? Oh, okay. But some of them voted for the UNCR, but they didn't realize what you were voting for was really the closure of your business. What you were voting for was really for your professional demise. Right. Let me see here. There was one more thing I wanted to touch on. Let me see if I get it here. Right. So let me see if I get it here. I see the trolls have started to present themselves. Contracted workers at the National Commission for Self-Help are quietly being sent home in small batches through the non-renewal of contracts. And this is now becoming a phenomenon in the public service, right? I am getting emails constantly from constituents who have been employed in certain ministries for years, albeit on contract. And under this administration, contracts are not being renewed. These are people who have bills to pay, children to send to school. You know, they would have secured loans based on their period of tenure, the fact that they've been with notwithstanding the fact that they're on contract, that they've been with the public service, with certain ministries for years. And therefore, they've established a relationship with their finance houses, the banks, and so on. And they will have to take a chance at them. So persons are now coming and surrendering their annuities. The government saying, hey, don't worry, your benefit. When they start to get, some of them have no pension to get because they've now had to come and surrender their annuities to be able to pay the bills until they could find a job. People who had decent positions in ministries, right, are now reduced to having to look for menial work, right? Paying them, but they just need to be able to pay not all the bills, but as many as they can. So imagine you went from working in a ministry, shirt and tie, jacket and so on, special projects for years, and now you have a mortgage to pay, and you have to pack bags and push a trolley. Now, all work, I am not discriminating. Work is work, right? At the end of the day. But come now, man. Leave that for those young people who now leaving school or who looking for a little end because school on vacation or whatever it is. Leave that for them. Leave that for them. You can't tell me a 50-something-year-old man, 55-year-old man has to be enduring this at this stage of his life, on the cusp of his twilight years, to go from that to have to come now to be packing. Well, you're wicked. I know you didn't vote for the UNC, but say what? Let's see if I get this here before the trolls come out in their numbers. Contracted workers at the National Commission for Self-Help are quietly being sent home in small tranches through the non-renewal of contracts. Employees are being told it is part of a restructuring exercise, according to a source and termination letters obtained by Guardian Media. However, sources in the organization claim that preferential treatment is being given to workers who were hired after the general elections. Those workers, they claim, are being kept on in favor of people who have been at the organization for the past 20 years. A total of 53 people are employed at the commission. Guardian Media understands that at least 4 employees have already received letters last week, with additional workers to be affected as contracts expire across June, July, and August. One of the termination letters dated June the 5th, 2026 stated that the employee's contract would not be renewed due to the company's restructuring. The letter further stated that the employee's employment ended with immediate effect and instructed the worker not to report for duty from June 8th, tomorrow. It also noted that the employee reported for duty for 20 days beyond the contract period. The termination letter reviewed by Guardian Media also stated that personal items belonging to the employee would be returned at a mutually convenient time. No, give me my stuff now. Tell me about mutually convenient time. Well, you want to go through it? Look, and then when I come to ask you, I can't find it, you don't know where it is. You send me packing, give me my stuff one time. The commission, which falls under the Office of the Prime Minister, is allocated $25 million annually. It was placed under OPM last year to ensure that urgent financial, legal, and operational matters stemming from grave million-dollar challenges found at the commission, according to Culture and Community Development Minister Michelle Benjamin during a news conference then. No notice of job loss. But they're telling you, we create 8,000 jobs in the last quarter. Where? How do you do that? Net 8,000, which means that all the people you fire from CPEP, URP, Forestry, WASA, HTC, you would have had to cover all those jobs to bring you back to break even and then create an additional 8,000. How? Where? Where did these people get these jobs? When were these jobs advertised? Is it through the same program, the Employee TT program, where you all tell people come and sign up online and then come down to the Couva cycling facility, I think it is, to sign up and so on? And up until late last year, you had only, or not last year, this year, a couple months ago, the minister, when he was the Minister of Public Utilities, in contributing to a private motion that I think was brought by the member for Laventille West, said that they hired 1,800 people in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. 1,800. So how the hell, where does 8,000 come from? You could fool the foolish. You could fool the fully dunce. But the rest of us who will go and do research, you can't fool us. Don't know what's up on Padarat selling that? Just like the 30,000 leaks that they fix and the 28,000 streetlights they fix. I don't know what's up on you're selling, but I ain't buying. Goes on to say, a source told Guardian Media that the latest round of non-renewals over the past 2 weeks came without prior notice to employees. The source explained that the process is occurring in phases rather than through a single exercise. Another source estimated that up to 10 employees have been affected in the first phase. Guardian Media understands that several employees continued reporting to work after their contracts expired and were not informed that their employment would not be renewed until they received their letters. These people have been coming to work and sitting down there for weeks and now get these letters, a source said. Guardian Media was told that the contracts would have expired some time ago and were not renewed. The workers continue to work day to day, month to month, the source claimed, and the source said employees were not informed beforehand that a restructuring exercise was underway. No organizational restructuring. Workers claimed that they had been blindsided as they had not been informed of a new organization chart for the company or any new strategic plan. Guardian Media understands that the last strategic plan was done in 2022 and the Commission's last approved organizational chart dates back to 2014. A source within the organization said no staff meetings were held before the letters were issued. This is how this government doing things. This is the government led by a prime minister who says, half of me belongs to you. The other half I give to you. There have been prime ministers before me. There will be prime ministers after me, but there will never be a prime minister who loves you as much as I love you. True word she's never spoken, because no prime minister would love you like that. I love you, know, but here, hold a pink slip. I love you, know, but here, take lost work. Go home. I love you. Don't worry. I love you. I love you. What? No, don't work for you. Go home. They just had the second phase of their apprenticeship program with TSTT. You know, the one that they launched last year where they had 600 young people and paid them $3,500, I think, for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or so. Up to now, we still don't know what was the process to hire. Right? We don't know what it was last year. We don't know what it was this year. All we know is that last year they claimed that an email was sent to MPs asking for a certain number of names. Well, I can tell you my office never got any such email. None of my colleagues on the opposition bench got any such email. We were never asked to submit any names, so we don't know how they hired. But anyway, when UNC wins. The source observed that some employees hired on short-term contracts remain at the organization, with at least one of those appointments being at the middle management level. Those short-term people are people who they would have brought in, while people with 20 years in the commission are going home. Guardian Media spoke to two members of the NCSHL board off the record, seeking information on the restructuring exercise and the contract non-renewals. Both directors said they had no knowledge of the non-renewal letters or any restructuring process being carried out at the commission. So the board don't know. Right? The board that they put there don't know. But that's what they're telling the employees. We're going through restructuring. The board said, we don't know that to know. Asking the wrong people. But if the board doesn't know, but things happening at the lower level, okay, that's how it's working now. But other workers who are still awaiting a determination of their fate this week were adamant that the board is fully aware of the decision taken on their future with the commission. The NCSL operates offices in Port of Spain, Marabella, and Tobago, and provides community assistance programs. Guardian Media also contacted NCSL CEO Lester Lur on the number of employees expected to be affected by the restructuring exercise. Liu said he was busy and could not give comment or provide any further clarification on the recruitment and restructuring process at the time. People lost work all over. They said we'll create 55,000 jobs. The PNM only firing people, but we will hire 55,000. So far, only lost work. I don't know if they need a dictionary or something. They don't understand what hiring means. But there's only people losing jobs left, right, and center. Now, mind you, they're digging in their heels with their 60-40% back pay. I know there are plenty of public servants who works too bad. Man who don't plan, taking that money, I'm going and buy a car, going and fix my house, I'm going and do this, going and carry the madam on a vacation. Salt, forget that. But they don't forget last year, around this time, they were just over a month in office. They came to the mid-year review and allocated in the mid-year review money to pay themselves back pay. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in back pay. 100% cash, no non-cash. Every one of them, right? Who was there in the previous 5 years, serving on the opposition bench, they came and they take their back pay. All cash. Couldn't wait. They say, nah, now come in office. Can't wait till October, till the budget. We bring it now. We want money now. Think to buy. We gotta buy a new car. Who want Prado and who want Toyota Fortuna and who want Mercedes and Volvo, and we have car to buy, we need down payment. 100% cash. Imagine that was the priority for them in the mid-year review last year. While they were maneuvering, while they were planning to get rid of 11,000 CPEP workers, the poorest of the poor, they were contemplating, right? This is how much the Ministry of Finance needs to pay the back pay. We want we back pay. And they laugh. They say, but say, well, I increased the price of gas once, twice, and then right yet I think I'll increase it a third time. The difference is that he said that in public. But when they sit down behind closed doors in cabinet and laughing at all, I will buy back pay. Yes, me played that. Rowley chop it, the PNM chop it, they take the increase and they pay for it, they pay the price at the polls. We tell the population, Rowley take a 47% pay raise. And people buy into that. Rowley wicked, Rowley evil. Rowley gave me 4% and he take 47 and then study and Kamala gets 72. Well, all you focus on Rowley 47. You didn't notice Kamala's opposition leader got 72%. She complained? No. She said Rowley evil and he greedy. He's a greedy old man. All he study and he want to increase his pension. Today the same pension that greedy Rowley took, guess what? Kamala is earning it as a salary. But she get more money than Rowley because while Rowley only getting 87,000 as pension, he's no longer a member of parliament. So he's not getting paid as an elected member of parliament. She is. Right? She getting paid. Prime Minister salary, parliamentarian salary. Never mind the fact that she's hardly ever in the parliament. She'll just show up if she have to make a statement. She'll come for a few minutes, make an appearance, and then if Prime Minister question time, she answer a one line, and then she busts it. She go in her private office. If we have anything to vote on, she will show up mere minutes before the vote. If she have another statement to make, and then does it. And she busts it. Well, let's say Stuart Young. Well, Stuart Young, 87,000. He was Prime Minister for 1 day. He deserved that when he was working his backside off as Minister of Energy. Right? Saying, oh, what we get? She come in the parliament Friday to talk about the PNM spend how much millions of dollars for our lobbyists to be able to get proximity to the US president. So that, and what we get for it? Nothing to show. We got an OFAC license for 3 years. Right? We got an OFAC license for 3 years. And if things had gone a different way in November of 2024, up north, right? Things would have been better. The OFAC license would never have been cancelled. But they're trying to make it seem as if it's the PNM and Rowley fault that the OFAC license was cancelled. Never mind the fact that up north cancelled all the OFAC license. For Trinidad and Tobago, for other countries, for all them oil companies, Everybody OFAC license was cancelled. But listening to them, no, it's only the PNM and Rowley and the fully done supporters talking about it. They know they cancelled it because they were siding with Maduro and they pay Maduro, they give Maduro money. Where do you all get this nonsense from? Do a little bit of research now. Or as the saying goes, it's better you keep quiet and let people think you're an idiot than speak and comment on Facebook and let everybody know that is the truth. Do a little research and see all OFAC licenses were cancelled. All. Just as Espini said, all were cancelled. Had nothing to do with Rowley talking to Maduro and all of that. Meanwhile, you have Delcy now going all over the place. She reached India. Trinidad and Tobago is right across the water. Right? And she wake up in the morning and she come out on the balcony on Admiral Flores Palace and she just take out the yampi from her eye and she look good. She could see the Twin Towers. She ain't reach here. She reached India. Right? Seeing photos sharing she and the Indian Prime Minister. But they tell you a delegation, don't worry, a delegation going to Venezuela soon. When is soon? You make big announcement. Delcy don't want to see all you, she don't want to hear all you. Nothing. But what we know, she said, Trinidad and Tobago will pay for every single molecule of natural gas. Every single molecule. Unlike what obtained under Stuart Young. Well, let's say Small Pen. Yeah, when Small Pen, when at least Small Pen was able to negotiate a deal that was benefiting us. Profit sharing, production sharing. Delcy say, forget that, none of that. Persona non grata, while you'll pay for every molecule. And how will you deal with it after that? And until we pay us. No concessions, no nothing. Whatever deal we had with Stuart Young, Keith Rowley, and the PNM, are dead. New arrangements, well, you'll pay for everything. I don't want to hear nothing else. I don't even want to talk to your Prime Minister. But don't tell the fully done that. So coming back to the point, right? They came last year and they allocated money, 100% back pay. They get it back pay. Bank account looking nice. Right? Them good. They're telling all the public servants, yeah, we told you we were going to give you a 10% pay raise. We never said we were going to pay you your back pay in full cash. We never had that conversation. So now we're getting all the 60-40, take it or leave it. It is what it is. Right? But Madam Kamla is earning 87th or whatever is Rowley pension, she earning that plus her salary as an elected MP and all the other perks that come with it. She have a big house in La Fantasy. She don't want to live in it. She prefer to drive down to Philippines every day and do. Okay, that's a prerogative so to do. It is what it is. Right? So all of them, all the new salaries that all it cost the PNM for, they are not ministers. So is the UNC enjoying it? All it cost the PNM, vote the PNM. The party that say we don't want it. Rowley greedy, PNM licorice, we don't want it. They come into office and they enjoyed it. And the people who took it ain't getting it. What a thing. As the man said in the video just now, why the Prime Minister and don't come to the Parliament and reduce the salary? They give you a million reasons why they can't. Well, you know that is the preserve of the Salaries Review Commission and we have no choice and we can't decide. If you don't have the money to pay it, you don't have to pay it. But you will never do that because they are enjoying the perks of office. I heard of some new perks just a couple on Friday that ministers enjoy that I never knew about. I don't get it. I'm just an ordinary MP. Let me see. So AB Soon is saying, ride the Delcy wave well. Do you know that her days are numbered? Your days numbered too? For all you know, you sure you go and get up in the morning? All of our days numbered. You here now commenting on my live, and for all the next thing, you get up to go to the bathroom and you fall down dead. It could happen. Could happen to any of us. But how much months now we're listening Delcy days numbered, Delcy dates numbered? When last you hear Trump talk about Venezuela? He's so over that. Right now the focus is to put the squeeze on Cuba. Right? You feel he have Venezuela to study? When last you hear him talk about Delcy? Delcy flying all over the place. Things she couldn't do before. Her days numbered? Really? Her days were supposed to be numbered since January. She was supposed to be taken along with Maduro. The US have lifted sanctions on Delcy. She's now free to go wherever. The same aircraft that Ole said was sanctioned when she came here during COVID, and Ole wanted to get the president then to put sanctions on Trinidad and on the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security then, Stuart Young. Guess what? The aircraft is no longer sanctioned. That's why she could fly wherever she want to, and she making deals, and she in charge. She in charge. Who you think Shell talking to? Who you think BP talking to? Right? They talking, and they and BP and Shell, who under the PNM had to depend on Stuart Young to be able to talk to Delcy. Today, they talking to Delcy minus the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has no clue, no idea what is being spoken about, other than what Shell tell them and what BP tell them. And if Delcy say, here what? All they want the gas, all they want Dragon, be willing to give it to all you. Right? No dealings with Trinidad and Tobago. We, PDVSA, and you, Shell, between us. That's how it's going. We don't care nothing about Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, you all have majority shareholder in Atlantic, and if all you have to process it there, that's all the business. Just pay us our money, all they do it all the thing, and you all sort out with Trinidad and Tobago government what, if anything, they get. If it is that you all just pay taxes or whatever it is, that's about it. You see the profit sharing part, forget that. You see the production sharing part, forget that. You feel Shell and BP and they care about us? I recall seeing a report, I'll find it and probably read it next week, where the head of BP said, had it not been for the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy then, they would not have been able to make a breakthrough with Venezuela. They have been trying on the sidelines for years, and Venezuela and Maduro wasn't even taking them on. Today, so all who UNC supporters who are trying to comfort yourself, that Delcy Day is numbered and Delcy Day is numbered. And with each day that you all keep saying that, is more and more latitude Delcy getting from the US. Up North wouldn't be there forever. 2028, he gone. He gone. And then what? Delcy will still be there. Right? Because that term of office that she's serving now is supposed to end sometime in 2030. So she will still be there when Up North gone. And you will still be singing the same song. Delcy Day is numbered, Delcy Day is numbered. And if Delcy Day is not, and who you think they're going to take? Trump kept the majority of Maduro's government. He took Maduro and his wife and he kept everybody else. So even if Delcy Day is numbered and removed Delcy, who you feel they're going to replace her with? Somebody from the same Maduro administration who took a decision to declare your leader persona non grata. Right? The same National Assembly is there, but you get rid of the whole National Assembly too. How are you doing that? The same people there. You get rid of Maduro and you replace them with his right hand. So you get rid of Delcy and you're going to replace her with who? Somebody who is still hostile to this current government, who was loyal to Maduro. So then all saying, well, that person day is number 2. They now come in and nobody day is numbered. Well, they're joke, yes. Yeah, he's saying, stay there and bank on Delcy. The race is not for the swift. When Trump go, Delcy would be in trouble. Remember a guy named Juan Guaido? Where is he? Remember when your leader was supporting Juan Guaido and said, yes, we stand with Mr. Guaido as the president of Venezuela. Where is he? That was in 2018, 8 years ago. Same nonsense Oliver said. Maduro Day is numbered, Trump thing, and going to put Guaido. Where is he? You are real delusional, yes? Only UNC supporters. Only UNC supporters. I just said you're saying about after Trump gone, Delcy will be in trouble in Venezuela. How? Why isn't she in trouble in Venezuela now? Who will I move her? Hey, boy. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Are they different, you know? Are they really different, boy? If that's how you all comfort yourselves on a daily basis. Under Rowley, when Maduro was there, Dragon gas was within reach. It was within reach. Right? It was right there. He told you all 2027. We had the OVAC license for 3 years. And if it is Kamala Harris had won the election in 2024, they would have probably extended further. Or who knows what might have happened. But we told you all. The same dragon gas that your leader said, we don't need Venezuela gas. We're going to Grenada, we're going to Suriname, we're going to Guyana. What happened to that? Right? On the 3rd of May, when her government was sworn in and she was interviewed by the media, she said, dragon gas dead. If the PNM couldn't do it in 10 years, why we deal with it ourselves? Dragon gas dead. See, your leader said that and all they applaud that. Yes, we don't need no dragon. We go in Grenada, have oil and gas. That's all they say. Today, the same dragon gas that just over a year ago, let's say, was dead. You all know banking on and talking about Del CD's number and Del CD's. What? Forget it. Where the oil from Guyana? Open up with the refinery. When last you hear them talk about that? When last you hear anything about it? Munilal went to India. He said he talked to companies in India, they're interested. Not a company from India has come here. They said our delegation was supposed to be coming from India to come and look at the refinery. They ain't reached yet. They go on to Guyana. They say, talk to the president of Guyana. I think Guyana interested in the refinery. We have persons from Nigeria. When they came into office, you had a company that won the bid and was in the process of putting things in place, organizing. Or they say, don't sell the refinery, don't lease the refinery, it must stay in local hands. But you're going to India to say you're looking for company from India. You're looking for companies from Guyana or the Guyanese government. But under the PNM, don't lease it, don't sell it to no international companies. It must remain in local hands. The government had opened it back to a local company. That's what you all said. A few moments later, well, we willing to entertain leases from outside Trinidad and Tobago. And when you bring this to the attention of the UNC supporters, HYMC, because they can't defend it. Just say it. Ah, boy. Where is Winston? Let me see what Winston's saying there. Where is he? So Delcy is waiting for the PNM to come back into power so she can give the PNM the dragon gas, but she might be waiting for a long time. Okay. All right. Well, if that is the case, well, sad be Trinidad and Tobago's portion, because it means that the longer the UNC stays in office is the longer we would be denied the dragon gas, which is not good for us because we need it. We need it. And if you, Winston, say, well, Delcy waiting for the PNM to come back and she have a long wait because the PNM not going to come back in office anytime soon, then it means UNC being in office is a liability insofar as dragon gas is concerned. And meanwhile, let me draw to your attention that while we're waiting for that, BP and Shell and other energy companies taking full advantage of all the other gas fields that they have that is available, and they probably negotiating right now as we speak to lap it up. Because I used to always say, Dragon was just icing on the cake. Loran was just icing on the cake. I told you all the Mariscal Sucre field contained over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. And given our proximity to those fields and the fact that we already had the infrastructure in place, that as soon as it was possible for Venezuela to be able to open up these fields for production, Trinidad and Tobago would have been at the top of the line because we had very good relations with the government at the time, and PNM still has very good relations with the government there now. So while Ole was only focused on Coquina Mannequin and Loran Manatee, or Manatee as Dr. Henry, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Right? While we were focused on that, we were looking at the bigger picture. Gas for not just 30 years, 60 years, 100 years. We needed just a couple more of those fields and we would have been good to go. For a long time, we wouldn't have to be busting me, oh God, gas running out, what we could do. All we needed was a couple more of those fields and we were good to go. That's all. It's all a fight on the PNM and Small Pin and Maduro is a narco trafficker and Maduro this and Maduro that and Delcy come here. All kind of stupid talk. Where did that get us? Now your prime minister can't even pick up the phone and call Delcy or anybody from the Venezuelan government. 13 months later, they can't even appoint an ambassador to Venezuela. that you're even willing to receive credentials. That's to tell you how bad it is. And then you'll fail to get 10 votes for the UN Security Council, and most likely is CARICOM. So come into office and in 13 months, or they're just mashing up diplomatic relations that have been established for years. Just mashing it up. I think that's okay. That's okay because we good. We good with Up North. Yeah, we good. Kamala in good standing with Up North. Up North have 2.5 years left. What's happening after that? Well, they bad talk. The letter she sent to Biden to congratulate him. Not to Biden, sorry, to Trump. You couldn't just say congratulations, well done. No, you had to put in that the administration that preceded you was the most disastrous, and they were supporting woke culture and all kind of nonsense. Right? Criticizing basically the Democratic Party. That's what you did. So if come 2028, the Democrats win, what are you going to do? Send a congratulatory letter to demonstrate hypocrisy? After you said that basically that party, when they were last in government, was supporting woke culture and they were the most disastrous because you're trying to curry favor with Up North? Really? No, don't worry. I wish Kamala Harris should win in 28. Right? We could remind her. Get a copy of the letter that was public that our Prime Minister sent to Donald Trump. See what she had to say about the administration of which you were a part. Brian.
Good evening, Dominic.
Greetings.
Evening to your listeners and callers. Dominic, how many Sundays are going to come and preach the same gospel to hard-headed people like Bachelor and them?
But I don't know that.
They're not going to get it. They're not going to, as far as they're concerned, the president of Venezuela going just now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Every day they get up. She's going tomorrow.
Correct.
She's flying over we head and going Grenada, flying over we head.
Going Barbados.
We head space and going India.
Going Barbados.
Going Barbados. Using the airspace and going Barbados.
Yeah. Brokering deals.
7 nautical miles.
Brokering deals, Brian, with all of these countries, right?
Exactly.
For assets that we should have
And
got.
inviting them
That's
to
right.
come and get gas.
Correct.
Talking energy with the Prime Minister of Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But using our airspace
Yes.
to go back and forth, but can't reach in Piaco yet. Imagine that. What a crying shame.
Not even an email, Brian.
No! It's a crying shame. And they believe that, eventually we will get the gas. We're not getting that gas. We'll get the gas through Shell and BP.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we're going to go now.
Correct.
That is how we're going to get the gas. And that'll be a marked up price. So I want to see what's going to be the real price for the downstream industries. When they do eventually have to get it. I want to see what will be the marked up price then. But people, they're just not getting it. The refinery still, they're waiting for them to press the button to start. Why it doesn't start yet? When they get the gas for run the refinery?
By the time they're ready, Brian is buying scrap iron, whole battery buy.
Yeah, they're going to have plenty iron to sell. Because nobody coming up, all the billions of dollars that you're talking about, billion here, billion house here, and billion and landmark TT and all that, nothing about the refinery.
Nope.
Not even any minister of energy talking. Like he just going to sleep. Like he just waiting until the boss lady decide to say, hey, get up.
Yes.
Imagine Friday night he's talking about cocaine and mannequin. I say, what? She's talking about cocaine and mannequin? I said, I mean, it was, I said, but what trouble is this leader? She gone mad. What cocaine and mannequin she talking about? What's she referring to? She talking to Delcy? Or is Delcy talking to her? Taking her calls? And this is, and you see, they can sell the country those lies that they sold certain people on Friday. They can sell all those lies and make people believe that when she went in September up to to Washington. That's how they were able to get a seat
Yes.
on the United Nations Security Council. Wow, how fantastic. And those of us know the type of work Dr. Rowley had put in. You had to get a lobbyist in order to be able to speak to certain secretaries and so on, and certain members of the House. You couldn't just simply go and talk to them just like that.
Mm-hmm.
We had to have a lobbyist, but they bad talking the same lobbyists now because they didn't need a lobbyist because the work was already done. The work was already done. So it was easy.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing else for them to do. There was nothing for just to simply wait for the vote. The work was already done in Washington. So to come now to say that, oh, because of this vision, our visionary leader and so on. Visionary what? Visionary what? You ain't leaving Philippines. You're talking about let people go to work because if they go to work, they might get paid when Monday comes. Look, you go to work yet. You still in your house. You say you're working from home. There is absolutely nothing happening in the country except certain things where there are people, the same name as you rightly indicated earlier in your narrative. You're hearing the same names all over again. Some of them have matters before the court, but you're still hearing the names.
Mm-hmm.
Construction going on at pace, even though the OPR is saying, oh, let me investigate this. Construction going on at pace. And people dying like by the twos and the threes all over the place. But I'm telling you, but the murder rate is 160 something. That's past that long time, Dominic. It passed that long time. There were 51 murders in May. 51 murders in May. How many have you heard about? How many? 51 murders in May alone. So this year, and every single morning you get up, you're looking at but I don't want to advertise him, but we look at the analyst show in the evening. He don't even have enough time in the hour and 15 minutes to read up all of the murders and robberies and home invasions that shows you on a daily basis. On a daily basis, a lady from number one Bamboo. They showed a picture with these three guys jumping into her home because he just came out of the bank, the public bank in Grand Bazaar, and they took all of her jewelry, all. She didn't have any, and the little bit of money that she had, she didn't take out any money out of the bank. And this going on a daily basis, but they will tell you everything good. People still continuing to, everybody who have contract, whenever your contract finished, that's it, eh? You're not going to get back your job, that's it. Pack up, but as well, just pack up and just wait for the letter to tell you, well, don't come back Monday or don't come back next week or don't come back whenever. Because that is what is going to happen. That is what is going to happen. And she's calling people that they say that the supplemental the media review. $2.8 billion in increased salaries and so on. But you know, she ain't mentioning nurses at all. I wonder why. She has not mentioned the nurses at all. Amongst some other unions, no mention whatsoever about from these same nurses that did so much during COVID. So much for this country during COVID. Not a word of the nurses were mentioned with respect to their increases or their negotiations, I should say. Absolutely nothing. Labor Day coming up just now. Refinery, I won't tell you what Roger has to say about the refinery. I'm waiting. I'm waiting with bated breath to hear what you have to say about the refinery. I hope you have good news for us. I hope you have good news. The $50 million US dollars, or how much is this? How much ever money was to bring this company to do the survey on the refinery? I am not seeing anything happening. I have been asking around, nothing is happening. Eh? Venezuela to talk with the delegation to go and talk with Delcy. Nobody ain't going nowhere yet. So what is happening? All the applaud and all the rate. You see, the fellas have to come to from the descent, Dominic, because I mean, if I get $80,000 a month plus perks, I mean, I could come to them. You understand? No matter, I will come. Because some of them never get that kind of money in their lives.
Correct.
And that's for 5 years.
Correct.
So therefore they will on the desk. But this is what we're going to have to live with. Whilst all of these things that will be going on will be given out friends, family, and financiers. And coupled with it, lies will come in between. I said, everything is good. But what you gonna do? Murders, imagine murders in Pinal, murders in Princestown, murders in Faisabad, murders in St. Madeleine. Not murder, murders. Murders. In places that you would barely ever hear about murders before. Murders. And then telling you everything good. It is a frightening situation, and we have to be very careful and mindful. I look forward to hear what they're going to see from Wednesday going forward in the media review and the finance bill and so on. But there isn't much hope, because basis of what Ember indicated after the meeting on Friday, I mean, it's just more of the same. Tax.
Yes.
They were supposed to be the anti-tax government, but it don't seem so. Where's Prakash Ramada? The tax man. Where is he today? Not a word from him. Not a word. Where's the tax man? But a little girl less than 120 pounds out on bail, and they found guilty. She and her mother got to pay $100,000 and serve 5 years in jail, just because she opened her mouth to speak. And they don't want you to speak. You want you to be in anywhere near any building in Port of Spain. It's a pity that the opposition leader's office wasn't included in that. I wonder why. It's okay if we go there and protest. Dominic, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too, sir. Right, and I'm seeing here a video, I think it's on CNC3, of MP for Labre, Clyde Elder, is embracing the mother of the young girl who was found murdered, Mercedes. And when I read the comments, it's amazing. That everybody, I feel your pain, a mother's cry, and so on, what's happening to our country. But when the PNM was in power, the same thing happened. Rowley must go, Hines must go, this one must go, that one must go. But the UNC hypocrites, nobody must go this time. No, all of a sudden you all want to commiserate. Then, so I mixed up the name really. I said, where is Sheila Rampasad? It's Indira Rampasad. I always mix up the two. I'm reading an article here where she says, a UNC-led government is held to a higher standard than the PNM. Their expectations for settlement of salary negotiations, benefits, better working conditions, improvements in infrastructure, and enhanced delivery of goods and services. Rampasad said this is partly because the People's National Movement has governed the country for much of its history, noting that there were changes in government rights. She said for the majority of the time, there has been a PNM government in office and there has been a level of complacency. But when the UNC comes into power, as infrequently as that may be, it is ushered in with enormous expectations for change. There is a higher demand for goods and services, so I think that is what is leading, to some extent, the protest. No, stop being dishonest as you usually are, Indira Rampasad. The reason why there are the protests is because the UNC, unlike the PNM, who will come and tell you, this is what it is. Dr. Rowley told you all, we don't have money. We cannot pay more than 4% right now. For the next negotiating period, we will offer 5%. But this is where the country's finances are, and this is all we could pay. Right? Unlike the UNC who tell you, oh, the PNM lie, Rowley lie, it have money. Put us in power and you get 10%. Put us in power and we will fix crime. We will introduce underground legislation where you can load up the matic. We will bring laws to make it easier for law-abiding citizens to be able to acquire firearms. Put us in power. We will remove the 7% online tax that we told you was draconian and wicked under the PNM, but 13 months later, it's still there. That is why there's a protest, because the UNC makes promises that they know cannot be kept. Anything, any port for a storm, they will lie. They will say whatever it needs to be said, because they know once they get into power and they're inside there, well, they can protest all they want. They just need 5 years to be able to fix their family, friends, and financiers, as they are doing now with all of these development projects and just giving away land like that, creating companies and giving people big work, paying them big salaries, leasing vehicle for 3 years for $340-something thousand when they could just simply purchase a brand new vehicle, no taxes, no VAT, no customs duty, and so on. All of the perks, they could do that, purchase the vehicle as a state entity, purchasing it. But no, and then you give the contract to a company whose owner is affiliated with the government. That's what they do. So when you promise people things and they give you their vote based on these promises because they expected you to keep your promise, because you're selling them dreams. If there were dreams to sell, what would you buy? All kind of dreams you sold these people. To the point now, you just imagine that you have Jack Warner, who has to come out and write articles, repeated articles, which is criticizing the government and what is happening. He who was a part of their campaign and who assisted in convincing people to abandon the PNM and vote for the UNC. That is why Indira Rampersad, and you're just playing smart with foolishness, and but the UNC is held to a higher standard. Held to what higher standard? The PNM built 5 hospitals. How many did the UNC build? How many did they build? She built 1 in the last incarnation as Prime Minister. Borrowed money from the Chinese to build the Kuva Children's Hospital and kill you there. That's the best hospital in the whole region. When the PNM were telling you, it is not that we don't want to open the hospital, but we understand the challenges. You need staff. We don't have the staff. We can't afford the staff right now, and there's a staff shortage. Staff needs to be trained because it's not just medical personnel. We have the equipment inside there. We need to train the people to be able to use it. All of these different things needs to be done, right? When the Nurses Association were telling you, listen, there's going to be challenges for staffing. All of the existing hospitals already have staff shortages. Where are you going to get the nurses from to put and doctors to put in these hospitals? Are you going to put the new doctors who just come out of university who have no experience to come and treat people? And then you're going to be seeing how many people dying? They were telling you that the PNM was saying this is what the situation is. But all they didn't want to hear that. Dr. Oli said, we need you all to hold straight. Ban your belly for a little bit. 2027 soon come. Based on the things that we're putting in place, money will be running and we'll be able to do better. But for now, we can't give all it. Oh, they lied. What about Rowley? Rowley wicked. They're greedy. They don't care about poor people. They don't care about black people. They don't care about the youth. Put us in office and we will give you this and we will give you that. And people take the chain up. When Stuart Young was telling you all, if you put them in office, they will shut down CPIP. If you put them in office, they'll shut down URP. If you put them in office, they'll shut down forestry. We have video at the final rally. Stuart Young told you all of these things. UNC tell you no bother with Stuart Young. That's just fear mongering. They're trying to frighten or let her feel that the UNC will do this and do that, but don't bother with that. And as soon as they get into office, the very same things that Stuart Young told you they would have done, they did it and more. So the protests are not because the UNC is held to a higher standard. If you make promises to people, it's sounding good and you were convincing, and then you hire the mouthpieces, the influencers. So as I say, the social media personalities, they can influence well, except the fully dons. And people bought into that. They didn't want to listen to reason and listen to logic. They weren't listening to the economists. When it is that the UNC came with the pie in the sky National Economic Transformation Plan, and it was described as that by people like Mariano Brown and others, respected economists who said it is pie in the sky. Well, they run with that. Don't bother with them. We need to put the UNC, they will fix crime. Crime does only go up when the PNM in power because the PNM miscreants and Eric Williams' grandchildren who committed the crime. Well, they're still talking that foolishness. PNM hyenas, as I saw in one idiot post in the comment there, PNM need to tame the hyenas and all kind of stupidness. Yeah, because when these people come to commit crimes, they say, hey, Look my party card here, PNM. Yes, just letting you know, I'm PNM. Right? Because everybody who look like me is PNM. But plenty people who look like me supported the UNC, and that's why you're all in office today. But you all don't realize that when you talk that stupidness, but then again, these guys will take offense. You know? They will take offense. It's all right. So, but I'm shame. Shame. Promise made, promise kept, promise delivered. Really? 160 something murders. I saw Mary Hines are just now asking how many murders took place under the PNM. How many? Too many. Too many. Just as too many taken place now, too many took place under the PNM. Right? And I think by now we should realize that the problem is beyond government. It is beyond government. Because the fact of the matter is, when these guys have guns in their hands, what do you feel? For those of you who have ever had the experience of firing a gun, I've had that experience, right? When you go to Florida, still I'm a visit Gun World for the experience, right? It's a different feeling. You have this weapon in your hand and you're firing on shots. I recall a couple years ago, went with one of my colleagues, right? And he decided, well, I would just use the normal handgun, the 9mm, whatever. He decided he wants to get machine gun, AR-15 and whatnot, and shooting off rounds and so, because it's a different feeling. And when these guys get that gun, it's like, okay, so they don't have economic power. They don't have political power. So they're looking for some kind of power, something to feel like they're in control. And when they get the gun, sure, that is their power. Because they could now create fear. You can't, police can't come up here. This one, you can't just come up inside here just so you don't know somebody. That is their power that they want to hold on to. Take that away from them, and what do they have? So when you think, okay, they're talking peace and we want peace, that's great. That's wonderful. But you will always have that group who derive their power from the gun. And once they have crossed that line and they have taken a life, or as they love to say, they pull back a skull, there's no coming back from that. They have reached the point of no return. So it's either they end up in prison or they end up in a shootout with the police, and that's it. That's the only two options. But to say that they're going to put down the gun and change their life, and maybe on the fringe, one or two. But I said, that's not happening. How do you reach these men? And when it is there is a lack of opportunities, and they will always be recruiting, they need scouts. And when it is the scouts getting gunned down, obviously they need to replace these scouts. And unfortunately, where do they look? Within their communities. Who living in their communities? When it is that young people can't get a job because they're living in these communities, and they send out a resume, and because it says they're living in Laventille, right away, nah, forget he. Forget her. See where they're from? The banks don't want to give loans, mortgages to purchase properties in these areas. What message are you sending? Young people bright too bad, but they had to lie as to where they live in. Because there is that discrimination. Right? Entrenched discrimination because of what people perceive based on what they hear about these areas. And there is some level of truth to it, but for the most part, many of you who always washing all them out and Beetham and Laventille and Cedars have never been, don't know anybody who lived there, but you form an opinion based on what you hear. I know people living in Laventille on the other side across by Lady Young and so on. Take a drive through there and you will see big houses, nice, beautiful looking houses. You have people working in the bank and all kind of thing, and corporate jobs, big corporate jobs who living in Laventille. Better than some of you all who always washing your mouth from Laventille, and you all figure that Laventille is the sum total of what you see when you go over the flyover by NP. And you see up on the hill there, that's it. That's what some of you all figure it is. But you don't see what comes out from there. When it is these young people go out and they make something of themselves. Where is the kudos? They don't see it. But all if it is only bad could come out from inside there. So when it is, you already dismiss and say, well, like, that's already planted in their psyche, you know. Where they come from, they already know society and write them off already. So I have nothing to prove. If let's say I'm going to turn out a bandit, well, then so be it. If you say I'm going to turn out a murderer, well, then so be it. Because if you're not giving me the opportunities, and the man who have the gun and the drug pusher is giving me the opportunity, because I don't have money to go to school, my parents can't afford to send me to school because both of them work in CPEP or work in URP or whatever it is. And it's not because the PNM didn't provide them with opportunities. That's what they wanted. Because when people come to my office every week looking for work and telling me they want to work in the borough, they want a job in the corporation. And if you tell them, well, what about if we could get you something a little more lucrative? Or, as a excuses, well, yeah, but I know my children, I have to make sure I come home. The hours in the borough, it's good because I had to be home when my children come home 3 o'clock, or I had to go and pick up my children from school. And you're not willing to make that sacrifice. What am I supposed to do? Tell you, well, see, what's the best I could do? But when I talk to the deputy mayor of Arima, or I talk to the mayor of Arima, or I talk to the chairman of Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, or I talk to the mayor of Port of Spain, and they let me know what is their situation, their budgets are cut, so they can't hire nobody, I can't help you. If that is all that you want, I can't help you. I try my best. If it is at any point in time they mention to me, Ole, we hiring, I keep letting them know, hey, anytime Ole hiring, please let me know, save a couple spaces for me because I have people who are looking for work with you guys. So just let me know now. Even if you could give me 2 and you could give me 2 and you could give me 3, I'm happy with that. I will take that for now. But when it is that they are struggling, and as I told you all before, when the principal of a primary school could tell me as MP that she is seeing students who before there was no issue with regularity and punctuality, and all of a sudden she's getting calls from the parents that, well, they ain't coming to school this week because they don't have money to buy food, they don't have money to pay passage, because the parents are working CPEP and URP and who are working forestry or whatever it is. While the money wasn't great, they were still able to make ends meet and do certain things. Now they're looking for work. Work is hard to come by because there's thousands of people in their same circumstance looking for work and they can't find it. Right? What do you leave for the children? When they start to go astray, and the parents, I fed up, yes, I fed up, talk to him. How much time I'll go in school? How much time they go call me in school to come? I fed up. If he wants to drop out of school, that is the business. I done. And that is the mindset. Not willing to make the effort. And in some cases, because the parents frustrated too. You think they like seeing that, they know things are going good all this time, and now I don't have the money to buy the books. I don't have the money to purchase the uniform. I don't have the money to pay passage. So if the child drop out of school, as much as it may hurt them, in a sense, it's helping them too, because they now don't have to find that money to pay for that. And then they like to talk the trade talk. Well, you learn a trade. I'll send them to learn a trade. But in the interim, you send him to learn a trade, but he could barely read or write. Well, let's hope that he's better with his hands. So right away, you already limited him, but who knows? Other people have come out from those situations. But you always have that one person or 2 people who in the life of crime, who always on the lookout. And they have their scouts. Hey, my partner just dropped out of school. I tell him, come and check me now. And from the minute he puts some money in that boy's hand, that's it. That's it. Going through. Easy money. And then you groom them over a period of time, and then eventually the gun end up in their hand. And you need to initiation, right? So you need to prove yourself. And you take a scalp, and that's it. Point of no return. Because you've experienced what it is. So whatever inhibitions you would have had. So the average citizen, I gotta shoot somebody just so. Once you do it once, that's it. You have crossed that line. And a lot of people, that's their situation. So I am grateful for the TTPS youth clubs that they have in the constituency. Right? We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with the police, and they're encouraging persons, listen, we have a youth club. We're inviting parents, bring your children, send them. Some people just don't know that's available. So when the PNM was putting things in place, listen, it's a work in progress. You don't have passage, we're giving you a stipend. Come and learn. We're paying you a stipend so you could pay your passage, you could buy a little food, but you're learning a trade, or you're learning something. You could either start a business with it, or you could look for a job. They were creating programs where I say, okay, 5-10 persons who are enrolled in the program, when you all graduate, you all could come together 2 of you could study refrigeration and air conditioning. 2 of you all could study plumbing. 2 of you all could do electrical work. So at the end of the day, 10 of you all together, you all have different skill sets. Come together and form a company, and you all offer these services based on your training. Create opportunities for the other young ones who are coming up after you. Set examples, be examples. That's what the PNM is trying to do. But then you have people like Omari Hines and them, right? Every opportunity they get, bad talk the PNM, malign the programs, rather than you go out there, you know how to support the PNM, but encourage people go and do the program. All he talking about what the PNM do nothing and the PNM abandon. So what's going on with the waterfront, Omari? Every time you come on here, I keep asking you that the waterfront that was under active work when the PNM left office, where they were going to put up buildings and so on, housing and other stuff. What is going on with that now, Omari? Anything happening there? Since Al Noor, the deputy minister of whatever from the UAE came here a couple of months ago, and they took on a 15-minute tour to show her what is possible, and we have land here if you want to come and build. Anything else happen after that, Omari? The projects that the PNM, when we were seeing the videos of the reclamation that was taking place, right? All the sand that they were pouring out to make sure, do what needs to be done. Active work site. Anything happening there now? No, but the PNM and the PNM and the PNM. How many projects PNM started that have stalled for the last year? PNM don't care about the poor. I keep telling you all, the PNM was trying to build this facility downtown, down by City Gate there, for the vagrants, right? For the homeless, so they could have a proper place. UNC was complaining, when you drive down Independence Square, look in front Royal Bank and Republic Bank, and you see all them big guns lie down there, and if you ain't much sugar, you could end up mashing feces, and how can I think the place stink, but the Spain stink. What is PNM doing? PNM say, all right, we'll build a facility for them. UNC come in power, it's under review. Construction stop. Nothing happening. If the PNM had retained office, that facility might have been finished by now. Well, I see they started this, like, it seems like they've come to their senses and they've restarted work, it appears, on what is supposed to be the head office of the Ministry of Social Development. Right? I see they're putting in the glass and the glass panes and so on the walls. So it appears that they've seen the wisdom in finishing that building. Right? Because remember, they were complaining bitterly how much money Faris getting and Faris family getting in rent. And right now, the buildings that housing the head office of the Ministry of Social Development belongs to Faris in-laws. So maybe they say, now we need to finish that and move them on so we could stop putting money in Faris' pocket. Otherwise, how we will look. The hypocrites that we are. For 10 years, we talk about that. And now we have come into office. We stop a building that was supposed to take the rent money from Faris and his family. We stop that building and we continue to pay rent to Faris and his family. So somebody may tell them, hey, you need to fix that. So they say, all right. We find the money to continue the building. So let's see where that goes. But the facility for the homeless, I'll profit in that. I don't get from that unless you want to assign the contract to one of your favored contractors, jack up the price to finish it. All right? Again, I highlight the point. The PNM was going to build a head office for the EBC. For years, the EBC renting the head office at Scott House on Frederick Street. Some landlord collecting that money. Years upon years, PNM say, all right, we have land behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We're going to build a head office there for a multi-story tower for EBC, state-owned, so no more rent. UNC come in, they stop that. PNM say NLCB renting all these years on Duke Street, head office, all that money paying to some landlord, collecting how much money? Millions in rent. We're going up on Pembroke Street, the car park next to the Atlantic Plaza there. We're going to put up a tower there for NLCB, and we will put other tenants in there as well, so we no longer paying any rent. UNC come in, they stop that. But in the media review, the Ministry of Public Admin that is responsible for government rentals come in to ask for millions and tens of millions more. For what? Tens of millions more they come in to ask for after they asked for how many millions last year in October to rent more buildings instead of building state-owned premises. Saddam come in the parliament the other day to criticize the PNM for the process they used to build the head office for the Ministry of Health around the Savannah there, that nice, beautiful building opposite the Queen's Park Savannah. For years, the Ministry of Health was spending millions to rent 2 or 3 floors in a building on Park Street belonging to Massey. Millions of dollars. Say now, building our own tech, right? Enough, no more rent paying to Massey. All they like to complain 1% and 1%. That's what the PNM was doing. Significantly cut the government's rental bill. UNC come in office and in just 1 year, rental bill gone back up by tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars. Right? For years, we know Ministry of National Security is in Temple Court on Abercrombie Street opposite the Hall of Justice. You come and create new ministries, Ministry of Justice and Ministry of Defense and so on. You send Alexander down on the waterfront and spend how much thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this nice fancy office for him. Right? The money that all you spend to outfit that office could have gone to help some of the people, the workers who are still struggling. Right? People who keep coming to me month after month. Anything yet? MP, anything yet? I taking anything, you know, wherever work you could get for me, I taking right now, yes, because it's pain. Every week I get in that. Every week. Anything yet? Anything yet? Nothing. What do you want me to do? My hands are tied. They write into government ministers, waste that time. They come with this NPOPs program, national program for the upkeep of public spaces. Well, there are people going out every day, borrowing money to pay passage to get to the office, to get to the work site, and then fortnights on end, not paying the people, and all kind of excuses. Dragging out 2 and 3 fortnights gone, and people ain't getting paid. But they have bills to pay and family to feed and other expenses. Meanwhile, every month, ministers getting their salary 28, 27, money in their account. Ministerial salary, parliamentary salary. Money meeting money. So they cannot identify. And I keep asking, these guys have office day? Because surely it's not only Malabar Mausika that people lost their job. I think we had nine CPEP gangs in my constituency. So that's 270 persons who lost their jobs. Right? We had UNC constituencies that had more than that. Michelle Benjamin said she had 10 before, and then they add 2 more for just before the election. So she had 12 by 30. 30 people in a gang. Right? 360 people would have lost their jobs in her constituency. You tell me none of these people went to her for looking for work as yet? And we're telling them. Imagine people from UNC constituencies calling my office, sending me, because they look at my podcast or they go on my Facebook page for the my constituency Facebook page, and they see we doing things, we giving out hampers where possible, and thanks to those of you who listen and who assist. And we are able to do these things. Persons who would come and they'll say, "What MP here? What I want to do some gift cards from Massey or gift cards from Extra Food, some vouchers to be able to assist the people." So they see we do these things and they call in. They went to the UNC MP and they tell them, "Well, I can't help them. I have nothing." The other day, a woman came to see me with a newborn baby, come from Kwaito, reached out to me on Facebook, on Messenger, and told me this is her situation. Newborn baby, father left. She has no money to buy milk, no money to buy Pampers, nothing. When I say send me an ID card, whatever it is, when my staff check, they realize she's not from my constituency. I say, listen, it don't make no sense we refer her back to her MP because she went there, her UNC MP, and she didn't get any help. She needs help, all right? Don't mind she's not from my constituency. I can't ignore her plight. Let's see what we could do, right? We had hampers, we gave her that, we were able to give her some vouchers and so on. Fortunately, some persons would have donated some baby formula and the like, and we were able to assist her with that. I'm not going to turn them away. Once it is we have resources to assist, we assist in. But I don't have the resources that they have. I'm not getting paid as a minister. All the perks that they're getting and so on, they should be able, when people come in the office, your office should always be filled. All of these UNC financiers, you should be able to pick up the phone and call them and say, I want 100 hampers, or give me 100 vouchers or whatever it is. They should be able to pick up the phone every time somebody comes to your office looking for work. Call one of these financiers and tell them, listen, I have a guy who just came here. He used to work CPEP. He has no job. You have any openings? Make it happen. Do that. Because these guys benefit in all these contracts that they get in. Let them hire people. I don't have access to that. I have no financiers. I can pick up my phone and call. Right? Because the few corporate constituents that I have, those that are still, or that may be PNM leaning, is only so much they could do. Right? So we send out to them and we say, if you ever have anything, please reach out to the office, let us know, because we always have people looking for work. I wish I had the access to the resources that these UNC MPs have, but I don't. So being in opposition is difficult. And my thing is, whenever we get back into office, I just sincerely hope, well, not hope, I know. One thing this experience has taught us is how not to behave in government. How not to behave. Whether it's UNC constituency, whatever it is. Now, I know PNM constituencies say PNM didn't do enough for their constituencies, and maybe that is so. But it had a fix. It has to fix. Right? Yeah. Because in every constituency, you have PNM supporters and UNC supporters. And as I told my constituency executive last week, I am not the MP for the PNM supporters of Malabar Mausika. I am the MP for all of Malabar Mausika, regardless of whether the persons voted for me or not. When somebody comes to my office to see me, I don't say, you vote for me? You have a party card? Are you a member of the PNM? I don't ask that. I treat everybody fairly and do whatever I can to assist. Jimmy saying they could call Monilal Saddam Padarat. Is there who have it? Oh, Lord. Marie had to say, but all that money Foster get and he can help, how wretched. Well, Foster money is Foster money. I don't know what money Foster get. I do what was reported. I never see Foster bank account. I never see a bank statement for Foster. All right? So, you got to pick that up at Foster. Altair is asking, where's my namesake for the area? Altair, the Minister of Public Administration and AI, Dominic Smith, has long since abandoned Malabar Mausika. Right? Long since. Every day I encounter UNC supporters who tell me that, the man promised them the world and he lost, but now he's a minister. He has access to resources and he don't have time for them. They call in his phone, no answer, who number block, all of that. Every now and again, if it have something organized, some event organized by some community group, as was the case with the sports that they had in the last time I think they saw him, was the sports they had in Evergreen, and they invited Khadija because she lives in that area, and she invited him, and he came just in time when the media arrived to give a few words, to do an interview. And they bring some toys, a bag of toys from leftovers from their Christmas toy drive that they would have gotten from their financiers, and they're so shameless. Or they bring the toys and have a big sticker at the back of the boxes, a picture of Kamala Prasad-Bissessar saying Merry Christmas. But you know what? That's how they feel about areas like that. Just whatever, they will be happy for whatever they get. So if you have leftover toys, just bring it, give it to them. Give it. That's how they see these people. Right? He making plenty money as a minister and as a senator. You think he can do more? He's not interested. Come 2029, 2030, if he decides that he wants to run for the seat again, then all of a sudden you will see him show. He will pop up. And all of a sudden he wants to do things in the constituency with the assistance of Khadija Amin. All of a sudden. And you will have people who will buy into that. Make no mistake, the UNC's plan is clear. No? They are doing what they're doing now because they know the mindset of the average Trinidadian citizen. When money starts to run later in 2027, 2028, they're going to come with a whole set of programs, just like they did with Baby Grant and Color Me Orange and all these kind of things, and share out money. Now they'll be in a position to, instead of hiring 1,600 people under NPOPs, they might be able to hire 5,000. And they tell you, well, look, you're making more money now than you was making under CPEP. Yes, things was tight for 2 years, 3 years, but now money running and the government can now help you. Better days, they've gone in the space of about 2 months, they've gone from better days are ahead to better days are here. That was the declaration on Friday. All of them outside the parliament taking picture and the cameraman tell them, what's the tagline? Better days are here. Really? CNC3 went out on the street to ask people, so do you Do you support the government statement that better days are here? And the majority of people said no. I'm not feeling it. Grocery prices going up, everything going up. So I don't know what better days they're talking about. But the money will start around soon enough. And they will fool plenty of people. Right? And tell you everything, you see the UNC doing this, and the PNM, if you put the PNM back in power, the PNM will stop this program, and they will stop that program, and they will. Rubbish. Volsang is saying, I often wonder how does Colm see his constituents? Well, I tell you, there is this perception that Colm Mbut is the devil incarnate. I know I hear people say that he's the worst, he this and that. My experience working with Colm Mbut has been totally different. And I'll tell you, the Colm Mbut that you will see, or that you saw as a minister, you see him on TV and the snide remark, that is just part of Colm's personality. But working with him, and I can tell you, when I didn't know the man before. And so when I heard people say, well, I know this, that, the other, next, whatever, I say, well, that's what people saying. I've never had an interaction with him, so I figure, well, that's just how he is. But I would tell you, I haven't had interactions with a lot of his constituents who have told me that he goes out of his way to help them. In fact, a very good friend of mine who lives in his constituency in Maraval, when she told me that as minister, when she went to him and they needed a retaining wall, because they live just behind villas of Highland Park, and he got it done. And that was no cheap project. So maybe as minister, yes, as I understand, he had a tight fist with certain things, but for the most part, as he said, the only reason why he decided to stay on for one more term is because he has some projects that in his constituency that he wants to see to fruition, and then he will leave. So, but maybe some people have had different experiences with him. Walsang is saying the man giggles at us, telling us we're weak and won't riot. And is this some kind of pre-1838 throwback? So, are we making this about a race now? So you are saying, okay, so he giggled at, and you know what? You know, I don't understand what y'all. Mbut said, and that's the one statement that you all, in 10 years, you all hold on to that, right? Hold on to that. Bolt it to his chest. What he say? He raised gas once, twice, and you all in riot yet, so he might raise it a third time. And I've always made the point. When you look at the way that Colm would increase the price of fuel, and it had to be done. Since 2013, Larry Hawaii, the man that the People's Partnership paid $11.25 million to leave his cushy job as the CEO of First Citizens to become the Minister of Finance. Probably the only time you ever had to pay somebody to become a minister. I've said before, people are tripping over themselves just to get a little board position where they get small money, $3,700 a month, $5,000 a month, $7,000 a month, depending on if it's an A, B, or C board. But you had to pay a man $11.25 million. Based on he tell you, well, if I leave this job, if I stay until retirement, I'm going to earn this in salary, I'm going to earn this in bonus and whatnot. So you had to pay me all of that. But he didn't become minister for free. He was earning a salary plus all the perks. But Hawaii came, and since 2013, Hawaii was telling you all, two things you need to balance the budget. Remove the fuel subsidy, which means you increase the price of fuel, and implement property tax. He said that. Just those two things. And he said, once you implement those two things, we will remove budget deficits from the country's lexicon. His words. Right? Or let's say, Rowley, you want to make the rich richer. Well, Kamala made that one man filthy rich. Right? Yep. 11.25 million, and then he became minister for however long he was there, earning 60,000 plus a month or whatever it is. So he was liking himself. He increased the price of premium from $4 to $5.75 one shot. He said 175 increase. Take that up all your K-Packs, no grease. And you all took it. Mbut came in now as Minister of Finance, and Mbut said, well, here what? He too recognizes we need to reduce the fuel subsidy because the money that the government is spending on fuel subsidy could go to other things. To buy medication in the hospital, to pave roads, to build schools, things like that. But instead, we are spending money. So when a man jump in the car and he decided that he want to drive up and down the place, he goes to the gas station and he fills up his tank. He paying a portion of the cost of the fuel per liter and the government paying the difference. When you have wealthy people, right, who drive in all kind of the best vehicles, these vehicles taking premium and big tanks, they go to in their household, they have 5-6 cars. They could carpool. Some of them family own a business, everybody working in the same company, but everybody has to drive to work. They can't carpool. So 6 cars, how many other cars on the road, right? You subsidizing fuel for these people who could afford to pay the full price. But you can't do things in an ad hominem manner, right? So you can't come and say, well, all right, when you go to the gas station, if a man driving an Audi or if a man driving a Mercedes, charge him the full price for the fuel. But if a man driving a B15 or a man driving a Almera, charge him the subsidized price because he poor and charge the rich man. It don't work so, right? So everybody pull up in the gas station, whatever is the price you pay, and the government pays the difference. Embert said, here, well, we need to reduce the subsidy, but I'm not going to do what Hawaii did and drop 175 on the people one time. So you know what I'll do? I will increase the price of fuel by 50 cents in this budget. Then in the mid-year review, I'll come back. So I'll give them 6 months to get accustomed. In the mid-year review, I'll come back and I'll increase it by another 50 cents. All right? And then a year later, I will increase it by 65 cents or 75 cents. So I spread out the increase over a 2-year period. So the same 175 that Hawaii hit earlier, one shot, to take that, no grease, Embert say he will spread it across 2 years. So it come across as now, Embert increased the price of fuel 3 times. Don't mind that 3 times equates to Hawaii 1 time. All your costs Embert stink because he increased it once, twice, and he only ain't right yet. So he will increase it a 3rd time. But you ain't studying what he took 2 years to do. Hawaii did it in 1 year. One shot. Right? So you had to face this full brunt of 175 from day one. And Embert, being the wicked doing that he is, decided he's not going to do that to you. He's not going to put you through that trauma. So he will give it to you in increments. 50 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents. Like I said, Embert increase the price of fuel. How much time and how much time and how much time? Mr. Man now, tax school come and tie up all your head. Yeah, we're reducing the price of super by $1 because you all were being overcharged at the price based on what the price of fuel is, the international price based on what oil prices was then. Today, based on what oil prices are now because of the war with Iran, I am sure that $1 subsidy, that $1 that you will be overcharged, probably eaten up by now. So now the government is paying a subsidy, most likely, on super. So they had to find a way to make back that money. So they increased the price of everything. All these fines increase 100%, 150%, all kind of thing. Landlord surcharge. They come with the insurance companies and the banks. They come with this surcharge as well. All of that. And the banks and the insurance companies say, well, hey, what we not absorbing that, so we had to increase our fees. Republic Bank gave only a little blind for a month or 2, but they're coming back with it. Rest assured. The insurance companies, now, you're not feeling it because your premiums haven't increased, but they increased it in terms of the policy fees. So now if you have a policy that pays you cash value, less money is going to your cash value now, and more is going towards fees. So your premium remains the same, But if it is, you have a universal life policy or one of those participating policies where every month your policy has gotten to that point where a portion of your premium every month goes to building your cash value. Now less money going to your cash value. You ain't feeling it. But that's what's happening. Well, ain't cussing, Mr. Man. Right? Tax school say, if the banks increase fees as a result of what we did, right, with this surcharge that we put on them, well, find another bank. Go to the credit union. That's what you tell Oli, right? But that is not as bad as, well, I increased the price of fuel once, twice, and they ain't right yet. So I might increase it a 3rd time. Well, let's look onto that. But tax school say, if the bank increase the fees, well, just go to another bank. If your landlord decides to increase your rent because of what we did with the landlord surcharge, well, here what to do. Move find someplace else to live. That's what tax school told you all. Right? That wasn't heartless and cold. So you live in wherever you live in, all the time, the rent good, thing nice, be established in that area, your children going to school in the area, it's convenient. They come into power, decide to implement this new tax on landlords, and he telling you if your landlord increase your rent because of what he did, just move, because it's so easy. Just pack up, find someplace else, because apparently not all the landlords going to increase their rent. But they're not holding the fire to his feet for that. You locked on to something that Imbert said years ago, right? And everything is contextual. But still, I'll tell you. He goes on to say, I'm privy to powerful people and how they look at those devoid of understanding that power. They always snicker. All right? So, tax school didn't snicker, but he just tell you plain. Go to a different bank, go to the credit union, or just move. But he didn't snicker. So that changes the complexion of it, right? Because he didn't snicker in public. But when they're behind closed doors, by James, I tell them, well, just move. He could talk that talk. He not renting. So he is not at risk of his rent going up. He doesn't have that problem. Okay? Money meeting money every month for him. But you're going to continue to hold on. Imbert will leave office and somebody will still be holding on to that. And you tie that to the PNM because Imbert is PNM. So Imbert said it, so therefore that means that the PNM don't care about poor people. But when the same PNM, just before the election, decided here what? We need to renew the contracts for CPEP so that the people, not the 331 contractors, the 11,000 laborers who are depending on this program, that they would still have employment. But the PNM sought to fix that, to put things in place to renew the contracts for a period of time, so at least the workers would have work until for another 2 years, another 3 years. UNC come in and they say, corruption, we shut down the program. How these people fend, how they eat, we don't care. How they pay their bills, we don't care. It's neither here nor there with us. Or we just trying to get rid of corruption. Yeah, but the PNM wicked. The PNM don't care about poor people. The Arawi and the contractors, and they wanted the contractors and corruption. And you all could see that because you all don't see what we as MPs see every week or every day when people messaging you, asking for help. I can read out WhatsApp messages that people, because my counselors give my number to people that they encounter who come to the office and they can help. Talk to the MP. And people sending me WhatsApp messages telling me that they have nothing in the house to cook. Real bad, they have 2-3 children, they need help. If I have anything I could do, right? You all don't see that. But only focus on it anyway. Umari Hines says PNM was only studying contractors. This thing just jumping up here. Why they didn't remove the contractors? Remove the contractors, okay. And who would have been responsible for the workers? Who would have been responsible for the workers? Because the contractors were the ones who were purchasing the workers and all these things, right? You do know that's what the contractors were doing. And CPEP, the workers were contracted to CPEP. Now, if you understand what the thinking was originally behind CPEP, when the PNM created CPEP, and the UNC Kamala Persad-Bissessar said that CPEP was the intergenerational transfer of poverty. That's what she said. They didn't support it. When they came into office in 2010, you had just over 5,000 CPEP workers. When they left office in 2015, you had over 10,000. So they double up. But they said, when Manning introduced it, it was the intergenerational transfer of poverty. No other political leader has ever been so wicked and cruel to the supporters as this government, as this Manning administration. That's what Persad-Bissessar said. Right? Anand Ramlogan called it a loveless thing. But they came into office and doubled the number of workers. And they said the PNM promote independency. PNM hired 5,000. They come and say we hire 5,000 more. But the PNM was promoting independency. They come at Baby Grant and say 120 million, they put aside 120 million, 500 a month to make child. You make and we will give you money to buy milk and Pampers. But to your point, Omari, when CPEP was created, the aspect with the contractors was contractors would come on for a 2-year period, all right? And in that 2-year period, you would develop the skill set to establish a business, to run a business, and you would make some money that you would be able to further your business. So at the end of the 2 years, when your contract was up and you move out and somebody else comes in, they would get the same experience and the same access to funding. Instead of we just come and just give you a piece of money and say, hey, go and open a business. So you got the training, you got the experience of managing a staff and so on. So when you move on, right, you open your company, whatever, you have all of that experience. How much money was the contractors making? Based on what I was told, contractors used to get about $20-something thousand a month. Right? $20-something thousand a month is what they used to get. And they had the responsibility to pay NIS and health surcharge for the workers, right? But the salaries were paid by CPEP. But the contractors were given the money, so they had to now hire somebody to go and learn how to calculate NIS and the health surcharge and to remit these things and so on. They had to spend money when the worker gone down, right? Who had to pay for it? Who had to go and purchase the gas for the weed workers? The netting that they used to use, who paying for that? All of these things is what the contractors used to, the money. So when all they're watching, the contractor getting $21,000, $22,000 a month, and all that money they're making, part of that money used to go into those things to buy the equipment that they need, to upkeep the equipment. I recall when I came in, just before they shut down CPEP, one of the contractors from my constituency was showing me a receipt where she spent over $7,000 in order for her to repair 3 of the workers that she had, right? $7,000 had to be spent. So when you're looking at all the contractors and figure the contractors was making all this set of money, now we're talking about WASA and PNM have a problem with black people getting money, 8,000, 9,000, 12,500 a month. What were you doing for that? What Matara doing for that? She said she painting pipe and cutting grass and so on for $9,000 a month and the like. And what the PNM, but all they want to begrudge contractors who was getting $21,000 a month, and a chunk of that has to be going every month to purchase, maintain equipment, purchase gas for the worker, because it's every day they're outside here. Sometimes some of them will purchase water and stuff for the workers, and all of these little things that you all don't see. So why they didn't get rid of the contractors? So you're focusing on 331 contractors, some of whom were UNC. Because when the UNC came in 2010, they hired their contractors too. Remember they expanded the program by 100%. Plenty of them were UNC contractors who ended up staying there just as long as the PNM contractors too. But making it seem as always is PNM had only care about the contractors and care about the contractors. I encountered my 9 contractors, and plenty of them was catching the nenen, the royal, even though they were saying some of them were owed for a couple months. But you would begrudge these people who get the little 20-something thousand, who were able to start a business, who were able to purchase a house and were paying their mortgage, who were able to send the children to school, who were able to go and take a loan and because the child wants to go to university and some. You all don't see these things. But taking chain up from the UNC, or the PNM only care about the contractors and care about the contractors. Nothing wrong with Toles. That's the part that you all see. But you see, I had the fortune of being able to talk to these contractors and hearing them tell me the challenges that they were going through, right? Because when they had to purchase a vehicle, how you feel the worker and everything getting to the work site, all of these different things. So all this money you all feel the contractors were making, they weren't making that. That's why today plenty of them catching in, and then some of them, their houses on the verge of being repossessed. The vehicle on the verge of being repossessed. Because all the money you all think they were making, they were not. But anyway. Claire Carrington is saying, for me, baby grant was a bad idea because the baby grows. So now all those who have lost their jobs, how are they making out now? Exactly. And that goes to show you how myopic and short-sighted that program was, unfortunately. But the UNC wasn't seeing that. What they were seeing was votes. And the people who were happy to just get 500. Just like I have some people who just happy to get a food card every month, and they're good. And they will adjust their lives around that. So who was earning that $2,000 a month with CPEP, and they getting a food card for $650, and they adjust their lives around that little bit of money, and they were good with that. You know how many workers the CPEP contractors helped, Omari? You know how many workers were owing the CPEP, the boss, in a sense? They borrow money and can't pay it back. But these are the things that you all don't see. All the PNMers only studying the contractors and studying the contractors. What the PNM is trying to avoid is the very thing that is happening now. All these people who are on the breadline and who come into the PNM MPs to ask for help. And some of them expect us to dip into our pockets, and many of us do that. Sometimes for the month, our whole parliamentary salary going to helping people. People come into here, they have all kinds of problems. Medical bills. They come in with the eviction notice from their landlord because they're 2 and 3 months behind on rent. And there's not one person coming to you, and you don't want trying to help them. Parliament don't give us money for that. You dip in your pocket, well, I could help you with 1 month. 2 months later, they come back again looking for assistance again. All right, I could help you with 1 month. But when you have 3 and 4, 5 people like that come in every month for help, there's only so much you could do. MPs had to live too, thank God some of us have two jobs. Aside from being an MP, we have our professional lives where we earn income, and therefore we continue to live off of that. So some of us could afford to be able to use our salary, half of our salary as the case may be, to be able to assist. But oh gosh, boy, I mean, there's only so much we could do. Because even with that, we still have to fund things happening in the constituency. Everybody coming to you, this group, that group, they're having a fund, they're having a function, a family day, they want help. They're having some function, they want help. Panorama come along, you have 2-3 pan size in your constituency. They're looking for assistance to get help to be able to pay for transportation. They're looking for assistance to be able to pay for refreshments when the players come every evening to practice. They come into the MP for help. So it's all of these things we just have coming at us. People want help for this, help for that. You're the MP. As I said, we don't have access to financiers because I tell you, a lot of the financiers hightail it. But anyway. Restart is saying business shutting down, prices going up nearly every day, be it $1 or $2, some jumping straight from 1 to 10 price raise, all kind of thing. Nah, man, people will go mad just now. Yes, I was talking to somebody just yesterday who works in a store in West Mall. And this person has been there for many years, many years. And the store is on the verge of closure. And she was telling me there are a couple other stores in West Mall that are facing the same situation because of the state of the economy, right? It's not just, and what people don't understand, it's not just the people who lost their jobs, right? Because the people who lost their jobs used to patronize the businesses of the people who would go to West Mall to shop. So while you may not see the CPEP worker or the URP worker going to shop in West Mall, the people who were shopping in West Mall were depending on the CPEP workers and the URP workers and the HTC workers to come and patronize their businesses so they could make the money to go there. Now that cohort of persons unemployed, and it's affecting the village shop. When CPEP shut down, you had some village shops where you had people owing. They took things on credit. They're not expecting to lose their jobs. And now that they've lost their job, they've not been able to pay their bills. Right? But the village shop, dependent on these people. These are the people who go into the village shop. They're not going to the grocery. They may go to the grocery once a month, but during the month, they just need a little something to cook today. Right? Go by the shop and buy a pack of macaroni, 2 tins of Vienna sausage, a tin of corned beef, right? A pack of rice, something like that. Now with all these people out of work, the village shop, nobody buying nothing. You ain't making no money. So these businesses, and if you like to let tales out of school, in about a month or 2, go to West Mall and you will see certain stores. I won't call the names now, but go to West Mall and you will see certain stores upstairs closed. Judith is saying these same people you are helping, they voted UNC for change. Hope they learn UNC help only their people. And that is true that's true in part, Judith. Because I remember the last week before the election, the last weekend, in fact, we were on a walkabout, and I was working with my field officer, who was a CPAP contractor. And he was telling me, he said, boss, let me tell you something. He said, the majority of my workers say they vote in UNC. He said, but I tell them, if they do that, don't be surprised if they lost their jobs, right? He said, I'm talking to them every day and telling them they need to support you, they need to vote for you, right? So that the PNM could get back in power and they could keep their job. But I know them and listening to me, because plenty of I hear them say, thing is UNC and PNM is failure and all kind of thing. So said, so done. So said, so done. All of them lost their work. Now they're cussing the UNC. He tell me, say, yeah, I still see them. They reached out to me if I have anything. He said, but what I go do? I tell them, and they didn't listen. So, Daniela Williams is saying, I'm in Port of Spain Monday to Friday. They plays real hard. Red Scorpion is saying, who meeting with Delcy Rodriguez? Shell and BP and other companies. Yeah. They're negotiating for themselves, for themselves. Trinidad and Tobago will just benefit, by the way, from the form of we will have a 10% shareholding in Atlantic LNG, and so we will get a 10% or whatever profits are derived from any gas that comes from the Venezuelan fields and is processed in Atlantic LNG, and perhaps whatever little taxes and so on. But as I would have pointed out, based on an article that former Minister of Energy, Kevin Ramnarayan from the PP government had said, he said based on this new arrangement, that all the taxes and royalties will now go to the government of Venezuela, not Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So we will just simply, thank God, the PNM would have restructured Atlantic LNG and our shareholding would have increased, right? And we will now get a little 10% from whatever profits and so on. But otherwise, that how else do we benefit? Why isn't the government talking about that? Why did not come in to tell the citizens, well, this is what obtained under the PNM and the PNM OFAC license and what the PNM negotiated? Because Munilal is the minister now. Never mind, he said the only contract in the ministry is in Spanish. And Stuart Young dealt with that. But it is there. Get somebody to translate it if that is the case. But come and tell us, under the PNM, this is what would have obtained with the Dragon gas. There's production sharing, profit sharing. This is how much money the governments, the citizens, to make. Under what currently obtains, where the government of Trinidad and Tobago has no involvement whatsoever in the negotiations, and it's just the companies, this is what we are likely to get. And do a comparative and show the citizens, if you are saying it is better under you, come and tell them that you get a better deal. But you know what? They can't do that because they did not. What they've got now is a raw deal. Because they thought up north would get rid of Delcy and Maduro and everybody else and install a whole new puppet government under Maria Machado, and they had no issues with her, and they would have gone sit down with her and kiki and nice, and we would have been able to negotiate with her and everything would have been good. No, it didn't work out that way. They didn't bank on up north installing Delcy, taking only Maduro and his wife and son and installing Delcy and keeping the whole Maduro regime that don't like them. The whole National Assembly that took a decision to declare them persona non grata. They weren't banking on that. So it just turned the whole plan upside down now. And the supporters talking about Delcy days numbered, talk about delusional. Before I go, let me just raise one more issue. The PNM, as you all know, would have started the litigation against Ish Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson and others with respect to getting back monies from the Piarco Airport scandal. You may recall, as a result of that several persons, international persons, would have been arrested, charged, tried, served jail time, and would have paid restitution to Trinidad and Tobago. Right? It started under the PNM. Unfortunately, we lost office in 2010. And when the UNC came in is when the restitution was paid. So they get money. They never tell us anything. They get all kind of things, paintings and whatnot, one of which ended up in the Attorney General's office, which Faris told us he's found when he became Attorney General in 2015, among other things. But there was another matter ongoing in the court. PNM, when they lost office in 2010, that matter stalled in the Miami court. Why? Because the attorneys who were hired by the PNM to try that matter were saying that for 5 years, they were trying to get instructions from the new government of Trinidad and Tobago as to how to proceed with respect to this matter, right? They were trying to book out, well, what should we do? What course of action should we take? And they had to get paid. They were unsuccessful for the most part. So that matter stalled and it was on the verge of being thrown out. Fortunately, the PNM came back into office in 2015 and Faris picked back up the matter, all right? And the last PNM administration was able to win the matter and judgment against Steve Ferguson for over $1 billion TT to be paid to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. What is going on with that matter? Where is it? Because my understanding is that this government fired the law firm that was hired by the PNM that was successful in fighting that case to get that money for you, the citizens of Trinidad, to win that case to get that over $1 billion judgment, that this administration fired that law firm. Where are we going from there? Right? So who is representing Trinidad and Tobago to make sure that we get that money? They love to talk about O'Halloran, and O'Halloran take the people money and went and built towers in Canada, right? But we know the NAR came in, they did what they had to do, they hired Bob Lindquist, who went investigation and ting, and the government got back money. They're happy for that. But here it is that a Miami court is saying that Ferguson owes this country over $1 billion, TT dollars. He has gone through the whole appeal process and he keeps losing. Where is this government in pursuing that matter to ensure that that $1 billion is paid to you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago? Because we need the money. They say they have no money, they have no money. What are they doing? Interested or no? Or just so we fired the law firm, so nobody dealing with that matter. So just in abeyance, right? I'm hoping Trinidad and Tobago forget. Ah, boy. I tell you. But we warned you all, We told you all. EMBD matter was in jeopardy. We told you all that that $1 billion restitution was in jeopardy and other things. Plenty of you didn't listen because you all were so focused on Rowley and the 47%. You all were so focused on, you didn't like the way that Stuart Chung became the prime minister. And just those two things alone cost us tens of thousands of votes. And as I keep telling you all, based on the number of votes by which we lost across the 9 constituencies that we went into the election with and lost, 15,100 votes was all we needed to stay in power across 9 constituencies. So even though 98,000 of you all who voted for us in 2020 didn't vote for us last year, all we needed was 15,100. But for the sake of a shoe, one horseshoe, a war was lost, a kingdom was lost. And for the sake of 15,100 votes, lives were upended, jobs lost, crime, you name it, everything across the board. Nepotism and cronyism, state lands being given out to friends, family, and financiers, mostly financiers, right? And what they call in a public-private partnership, creative way to give away land. Come build your thing, you operate it, and you pay us some taxes, but at the end of the day, you benefit it. Come, give your land, you build houses, right? High-end houses, you sell it, we take a piece of the money to cover part of the cost of the land, not the whole thing, a part, and you make millions from selling all of these houses, right? You didn't have the land. Now, if you had to go and spend millions to buy the land, and then come to spend millions to build the houses, it would have cost you more. But we will provide you with the land, and we will say we're providing housing. The state is providing housing. And when you sell these houses for $2 million plus, and we take out 200,000 per lot, and you keep the 2 million. Because nobody can come in to ask, well, how much money will you get the government getting from the sale of each house? Nobody asking that, no. No. Instead, they come and look at these beautiful houses. Look what the government is doing. Anyway. Apollonius is saying, Dominic, don't waste your time explaining to Mary Hines. She looks illiterate, but anyhow educated her. She on the chat for that. Mary's not guy. Red Scorpion said HTC workers clapped when Anil Roberts walked through the office. Oh yes, yeah, they were clapping. Yes, they said liberation. Yeah. Freedom come. Christian Spencer is asking what happened to the money from the HSF UNC Steel. Good question. Good question. So, but stay tuned this week, folks, on Wednesday for the debate on the finance bill, and then Friday, Standing Finance Committee, right? So that will precede what happens on Monday. So basically on Friday, we will be interrogating all of the ministers who have asked for additional monies. We will be interrogating them line by line to find out what they intend to spend that money on, what they need that money for, despite the fact that we told them during the mid-year review, not the mid-year review, sorry, in the budget last year, that would not have been enough money. So let me just get this here. So based on what I am seeing here, right? Right. Auditor General Department is asking for an additional 40 million. The Judiciary is asking for 709 million. Is it? Yeah. Who else? Industrial Court, 52 million. Parliament, 158 million. You know, salaries are the pay now. You know? Tobago House of Assembly wants an additional 3 million. Ministry of Finance wants $5,711,975. Office of the Attorney General wants an additional, wants 430 million. Ministry of Education, 5.5 million. Ministry of Health, 7.5 million. Who else? Ministry of Labor, Small and Micro Enterprises, 194 million. Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence. Much they won by 68 million. Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation, 46 million. That's Ministry of Public Utilities, 500, an additional 521.872 million. Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, 454 million. Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, 310 million. It seems like they might be giving the corporations a little something. The local government bodies are getting only 106. Okay. All right. Ministry of Housing wants an additional 197 million, 198 million. The Police Service wants an additional 339 million. To pay what? Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs wants 34 million more. Ministry of Planning and Economic Affairs, 10 million. Ministry of Works and Infrastructure wants an additional 410 million. Same thing. When Embut told Jaylene that wouldn't be enough money, you know, she didn't listen. Ministry of Defense, Wayne Sturge, 40 million. Ministry of Culture and Community Development, 49 million. Well, hopefully they will pay TUCO and they will pay Pantrinbago and they will pay TTCBA and all the people that they own. They were warned. Yes. Folks, we will chat again soon. Section 34 is saying we know the speaker will shut down half of all of the questions that will be put forward. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Michael is saying the mat's not matching. So stay tuned this week. All right. Wednesday, we're in Parliament from 10:30 a.m. Friday from 1:30 p.m. And then following Monday, I think from 1:30 p.m. where Minister Taxku is going to deliver the mid-year budget review. All right. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a productive week. And we will chat again soon. PF Cutters is saying the government wants 3 billion more, but we will get an update from the government. But will we get an update from the government about the US 1 billion? No, you will not. We will ask. But sometimes Taxku, he's very what's the word I'm looking for? He's very selective in what he hears, which question he takes note of, and those that he doesn't. So enjoy your week, folks. We will chat again. Slimy is saying, so that's 1,068 million for AI. Yep. Slimy, you don't miss you don't miss when it comes to that AI. Dominic Smith. Yeah. And a chunk of that go into for rental, right? To rent buildings for government offices. Chunk of that. Sai. Omari Hines is saying the best media review ever. All right. Stay tuned to the Parliament, Omari. We will see if it's really the best media review ever. If that's what you want to call it. Don't know how people benefiting. A chunk of that also going to paying debt. But stay tuned. David McIntyre saying he's looking forward to Manning and Taxku. Yes, David, I can tell you. Brian is anxious for that debate. He wished it was last week Friday. So we will see. Folks, enjoy your week. Have a good one.